Please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We read the certification of compliance into record, please. Roll call.
Here. Mr. Franklin. Here. Mr. Hipperson. Here. Mr. Grunberger. I apologize. Mr. Grunberger had a family problem come up that he had to deal with it, so he would be able to present tonight. Mr. Nyman.
Here.
Mr. Flansbrough.
Here.
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Mr. Leonard. Mr. Cassell.
Here.
Can we swear in our professional, please? Okay. Any changes to the agenda?
No.
Excellent. Item number 1.
First item up is application SB 2159 by Congregation for Hearthstone. It's major site plan for a building.
Please do, yes.
Waivers requested for the photo concourse and plans, profiles, GIS, design calculations, indicated better or the waivers provided that the survey target hearing, as well as the profile GIS, the design calculations. We don't have to have our
Okay, so do we have a motion to go along with the engineer planner's recommendation for the waivers? Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so we'll go ahead with the waiver submission.
And we have one variance, I believe, or two variants, for the side setback. And there's pre-existing variances which were granted under SB 2046.
That is correct.
Okay.
If we can wait 1 minute, Marion Weinstein is just parking her car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we start without her?
Sure. Okay.
Start without her. But we have to be, oh, it's 8, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have to.
Whatever.
The workshop is over. They're out.
If you remember, we were in a year or two ago for the addition on the existing house. We're now coming in for second story addition only. And because we need an emergency staircase that is on the north side of the building, and that creates the 10-foot side yard variance, or the side yard setback there. It's an open stairwell, has a roof on it, it's all open. So, and we're just under 1 foot of property line. There's no other site improvements, and in the letter it says all the previous site improvements that were approved are essentially completed. The reason why I wanted Mary to come in is, if we could, we'd like to handle this all in one application.
The only concern that I have with handling the one application is because you're going 5 feet from or 5 feet, right? From the side setback?
No, we're gonna be.
Right up to the side setback. Is there a neighbor here from this? Is there any testimony that the neighbor is okay with that?
from the neighbor who's not able to be here tonight, that he has no objection, and he's aware we're going to do the stairway there.
You can't come to the next meeting?
Well, if we-
Just trying to,
We weren't notified.
you know what, when's the next meeting? I know, when's the next meeting?
Our next meeting is February 16th, we've already had 11 public hearings.
11 public hearing or something?
So you have three plan review items after this one that may now follow suit.
So,
Just
let's come back.
before we were.
We'll come back, okay?
Okay.
So what do you want to put this on?
The next public hearing would be March, that we were scheduled for March 15th, for last plan by February 7th.
Could we put it on the first March meeting?
March 1st has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 items. But we're going to do everything else.
March 3rd, March 15th, maybe? March 15th, okay. March 15th.
Thank you.
So moved, seconded, roll call?
Mr. Herzl.
Yes.
Mr. Franklin. Mr. Dickerson. Mr. Nyman.
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Banner has stepped down. Mr. Lyon, we're requesting revised plans by February 24th.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
SB 2159, the application of congregation of personnel has been advanced, will be heard on March 15, 2016, 6 o'clock, this meeting hall. There will be no further notice.
All right. Item number 2.
Item number 2 is application SB 2161 made by TJ Realty Enterprise LLC. It's Mr. Nicholas for building addition on River Avenue.
Any waivers for this application? Okay. Yeah.
Architectural
Do we have a motion on the recommendation? Moved, seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Pre-existing variances, we noted on there about condition 17, and board resolution concerning the use of commercial building, based on the possibility that testified upon. There are parking spaces that are proposed inside of the desired 50 setback. For these that they have.
You'll, give testimony that in the public meeting?
Yes, we will.
Okay. Any questions from any board members?
I don't think that we should get market test that with the second, so where you're doing it based on having a building.
Well, he identified what is within that setback, and we actually recommend that it be considered that, because time could
So it is a way to identify other parking spaces, so that before the public hearing, you don't
We will look into it. Terry's comment was noted. Terry's comment said that he's not, that he was a recommendation to the board not to consider those as parking spaces. And to request a variance, or obviously we'll go to look into seeing if there are ways to put parking spaces elsewhere on the lot.
This is on March 15th. Do we have a motion to move this to the March 15th? Moved, seconded, roll call?
Mr. Herzl.
Yes.
Mr. Franklin. Mr. Dickerson. Mr. Nyman.
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Banner. Mr. Coleman.
Members of the public be advised, the application number 2 tonight is plan review
GIS and tree protection management. We recommend waivers, with the exception of the tree protection management, which could be required.
Good evening, I'm Trevor Turner, the applicant. We have reviewed Terry's January 28th letter, we have no objections, we will address any issue or concerns that are raised at the public hearing. The board needs to vote on this.
Before we do that, we just want to make a motion on the waivers.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Alright, so, we have a motion along with the planner and engineer's recommendations, so moved, seconded, all in favor? Aye. That's just, procedural. So, you said you read the letter, but no
We have no
problem.
objections, we'll address any concerns at the public hearing. I assume by your previous comments, there's no getting on prior to
March 15th. We have a motion to move this to the March 15th hearing. Offered and seconded, roll call.
Mr. Franklin. Mr. Hipperson. Mr. Nyman.
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman. Mr. Renner. Mr. Costello.
Vice President, I'm sorry.
February 25th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's an existing shul, it's an addition to an addition.
Nothing during the week, right? It's not rented out during the week.
We will address any questions. I don't know the answer at the moment, I don't want to say it's not, but we will address all those on public hearing.
So it's not, so if you need that in.
We'll put that in resolution, okay.
Members of the public are advised, number 3 on tonight's plan review calendar, SB 2162, the application of the following are items has been advanced from the hearing on March 15, 2016. Please call for the vote.
Next application is SC 21 by George Solis, minor subdivision, create 2 lots on Central Avenue. That's record setback.
We have this one before us, right?
Is there any difference between the last time you voted and this?
Yes, we've added a tree preservation plan to the application.
There are trees on this app? There's trees on this one?
Yes.
And at the public hearing, we're going to present the propel map and all the information that the board needs to see.
We stopped over for Kelly maps because a lot of miners too, rules doesn't make it right.
Well,
Because
we're going to provide the information showing how it fits into the neighborhood. We're going to provide a lot more detail than we provided last time.
Okay. We have a motion to move this to the March 15th meeting.
And I just, before we proceed to that, I just wanted to make a request that must be put on the February 16th public hearing, if that's okay.
We say how many tomorrow?
11.
It's chance that it'll go at the end of the meeting. I don't know if Garrett or 11 other items, and some of them are heavy items. I mean, if you want to put it on a chance at
If
what?
I were to be on, the time you know, I would recommend.
Are there any, Brian, are there any revised plans that you're gonna submit on this application?
There are some comments in the report. It doesn't look like they're substantial nature, very things we need revised plans.
If you were going to be heard on the first one, you would not have the second one.
And the
Would
comments
you
are,
agree to everything you said?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. So then we'll put you at the end of the agenda. Yeah, no. Okay, so we have a motion moves to the February 16th, we had a motion we asked for roll call.
Mr. Herzl. Yes. Mr. Franklin. Mr. Hipperson. Mr. Nyman.
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Renner.
Thank you very much. Members of the public are advised, number 3 on tonight's plan review calendar, SB 2162, the application of the advance to be heard on March 6 o'clock. This meeting will be no further than
Moving on to the public hearing, you'll see that we did
Mr. Chairman, for the record, Edward listed, I'm sure you're on behalf of the applicant. My right is Timothy Lurie, a planner and engineer who will present the technical aspects of the application. It's a pretty simple application. I would ask that Mr. Lurie be Mr. Lurie, can you first tell us what the nature of the application is?
First, Mr. Lawrence mentioned our plan based on some commercial appearances.
Just the fact that he's Mr. Listening.
I love it. Okay, just basically outline for the board what the nature of the application is, and then talk about Terry's letter, please.
Sure, we're proposing to subdivide lot 13, lots 1607 into two lots. The lot 13 is 12.12 acres. We're going to subdivide it into two lots, one being 8.719 acres, which will be lot 1301, which will be the original portion of the site. And then we're proposing a second lot, which will be 3.383 acres, which will be lot 13.02, which is at the southern end of the property, which is bounded by Rutgers Boulevard around 3 times.
And with regard to the board engineer's letter, is there anything in there that you would take exception to?
Sure, there's two items. One is we're requesting a waiver for creating a side property line of the proposed new lot not being perpendicular to Rutgers Boulevard. As you can see, Rutgers Boulevard has a curvature frontage. We are creating it perpendicular with the rear setback line to be able to create these two lots.
Right now, what is on the other, what is there now on this site?
The first site is, it's two existing metal frame warehouse.
And you want to take off that portion
We want to
and
take
you
off.
subdivide it. And we're not creating any variances by doing the subdivision.
That is correct.
Okay, are there any parking variances that are created?
No, there's not.
It's not. Right now it's wooded.
There's actually, it's a wooded portion along the frontage of Rutgers Boulevard that consists of a J.C. Penney P&L easement along the rear of the property.
No variances. No, it's not that I'm creating.
No, it just says the front yard setbacks will be reduced from 100 feet to 50 feet. We submitted to the industrial commission about a year and a half ago, and they told me it was okay to reduce that setback. The right of way for the power lines is 200 feet. It runs from the rear of the property, as you can see, 240 feet along the back.
Is wetlands currently on this?
No.
And is this, did you say there's water here?
No, nobody.
I thought you said that there was water in that front portion of it. Did you say water? Oh, wooded.
Wooded.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said water.
Woody good, water bad.
Yeah.
You can see the existing tree line along the front show.
Does the applicant propose anything on the proposed subdivided?
Eventually, there'll be a site plan. It will be a conforming lot, and we suspect, we know that somebody will be coming in for a site plan. It's a totally separate application. The only thing in Terry's letter that we're asking to be deferred, if you will, is the planting of trees. We would ask that that be part of the site plan once we know what the new building is.
The location of the individual trees.
Harry also mentioned sidewalks in his letter. Are there sidewalks there now? Are you proposing sidewalks? This is an industrial park. Okay. All right. Any questions from any board members on this application? Anyone from the public have any questions or comments on this application? Seeing no one closer to the public, I'll entertain a motion on this application. Yes. Just one question before the motion. Yes, because any application like sidewalks, but because this is an industrial park, yeah. Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second for approval, second by Mr. Fleischman, roll call.
Mr. Franklin. Mr. Hipperson. Mr. Herzl. Mr. Lyman.
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough.
Yes.
Mr. Bowman.
Yes.
Mr. Renner. Mr. Castillo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Liston.
There's an application next.
I know.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Weinstein, asked me, she has number 3. Number 4, and back to go.
You said
It
that
is.
before.
We already did that.
That's fine, no problem.
Next application is 52, Lakewood Plan, it's a major site plan for a synagogue on Ocean Avenue. There may not be anyone here for that.
I saw Mr. Rummer.
I believe start with Mr. Simon, and,
Because the double there, I don't know. Maybe three. Okay, quickly, let's go to the agenda, come on.
Moved us to. Where? We're doing well, that's good.
Okay. Are there any, variances on this application, sir?
There's one variance.
Okay. Mr. Simon, you want to be sworn in? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I was guessing it was, that was my fault.
Joe Kishuba?
Okay, shoot, I'm sorry. Yes.
I do.
Okay.
This is number 2.
This is number 2. You ready, Mr. Kishuba? You want us to hear the next application first?
I'm just on a full review there, I apologize. Here it is. Sorry. The proposed application is for 309 Ocean Avenue, for a proposed shul on Ocean Avenue. We're proposing 9 off-street parking stalls, one of which is ADA accessible. We are proposing the building towards the rear. We are requesting a rear yard setback variance of 10 feet, where 20 feet is required. The 10-foot rear yard setback is provided in order to push the building back to increase the parking. We do provide the required parking for this area, or for this size. I'm sorry, it's 10 feet where 15 feet is required. By pushing the building back the additional 5 feet, it allows us to gain these 2 additional parking stalls, providing 9 stalls rather than 7. Again, we are compliant with the parking necessary for the size of the main sanctuary. There was a question in the board engineer's review letter regarding sidewalk access to the property from the street. We plan to amend our application to show a sidewalk in this area along the parking area and provide a handicap ramp at the corner
which would allow handicap access to the
Frontage
rear of the
is
property.
Route 88, that's where the
The
frontage
frontage is Route 88. It's an odd-shaped lot. It's very narrow at the front of the property and widens as you get towards the rear. It's only 50 feet wide at the front and 93 feet wide at the rear. So in order to design anything on this property, it's very difficult to provide any substantial parking
That's
layout.
why you're going in.
And that's why we're pushing back. We were able to gain 2 additional parking stalls with that 5 feet of relief that we're requesting.
There is no hall proposed for this, no rental, no anything proposed for this. It's just strictly a synagogue.
It's strictly synagogue. There is a basement, there's a hall in the basement. There's a room in the
Weekday
basement.
use or for the weekend use?
I believe the intent is for Shabbos.
Okay, so for Shabbos use. So during the week, it will not, won't be rented out or anything.
That's
That will
correct.
be in the resolution.
Correct.
Somebody says it's not in the, if we need a resolution that it's no rental of the wall. That's not working. How does it, it's like for us, it's not like that.
If it's rented out, they'll get a ticket and they can be shut down.
So that's once again enforcement, which is a problem, so it doesn't work anyway.
Yes, that's, they tell me to put this in the resolution, those schools cannot, make a office there, they can't make a apartment. And any neighbor complains, it's not the thing. Okay.
And in further support of the rear yard setback, the rabbi here is actually the owner of the property to the rear. So the impact is to the rabbi and the congregation.
You have the architectural. Show us how it's not conducive to the catering.
I don't know that we have a full basement plan at this point. We do propose to have a hall, but again, we are going to restrict it to Shabbos only.
Responsibility for both is concerned, that enforcement is an issue, but how's it set up?
Well, I can't imagine if it's going to be used on Shabbos, it's going to be set up as a whole anyway, so that's, I'm just concerned about weekdays for parking.
What was that, John? We can't hear you.
No parking.
Right, that's why we can't have any pool there. How many spots do you have on the property?
9 stalls on the property.
I yet to be at a minion where there's 9 people, there's usually 10 people there.
This place, they haven't done
No, seriously, there's no parking at Route 88. You should have at least, enough parking for the minimal amount of people that are gonna be there. Of this parking on Pearl Street?
Yeah, there is on-street parking on Pearl Street. The site is currently used as a shul. The basement is a current shul, obviously.
What exactly are you using the basement for?
The basement will be used for Shabbos only.
On the weekends, on the weekends, in shul, sometimes it's called a kiddush, after praying services. And that's all walking, there's no driving for that. And that's common in the synagogues and shuls. My concern was during the week, a lot of these shuls rent out the bank with walls, like, the firehouse and stuff like that. And that's what I want, that's what I don't want over here.
Because they're not being familiar with it, my question is what would happen if you put a condition and this was to be built on a slab, that defeats the purpose,
Then you can't have that conditioning on.
We do have, I apologize, we do have the rabbi here to speak if you have any questions.
It'll help, what's the total occupancy? What's the maximum occupancy? Based on the square footage of the sanctuary and secondary rooms, all that, what's the maximum occupancy?
I don't have that calculated.
You don't have the stuff. before, before we look at it. Okay?
Yes, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. What if the reduced setback is not agreed to, we have an alternative to offer?
If the reduced setback is not agreed to, we would have to eliminate 2 parking stalls.
We would have to eliminate and move the building up, which we don't want, but.
Then you need parking requirements.
At that point, no, 8 is required, 9 is required.
So either way, you need variance.
No.
Correct, we would have to change the shape in order to comply with the side setback if we had to move forward.
Is that practical? Is that practical?
In my opinion, the variance can be granted under the C2 criteria, that is a better planning alternative to grant the 5-foot relief against the neighbor. Again, that's one of the congregants and part of the neighborhood that will access and utilize the shul. That will provide a better planning alternative than a strict compliance with the regulation.
That doesn't answer the question. It's practical to do with the other configuration. I think that's what the question was.
I guess I don't understand the question of practicality.
Would it undermine the purpose, would it make it unusable? Is it a feasible design to do it without the side yard setback? I think that's what the question was.
I think the answer I'm getting is no. There is no alternative.
Right, I think any configuration would wind up with less parking.
Is this a neighborhood shul?
Yes,
So where's the current shul?
Kerschel's in a basement on a property, I believe it's directly across the street.
And we're trying to force the additional current shul is the neighborhood.
Correct.
So there is a shul already there for the neighbor, you want to move it out of the basement and build a regular shul?
That's correct.
Where
So,
the occupancy has now exceeded the basement's capacity, that you want to build a building. The neighborhood,
For the kids to come to the shul.
I understand.
Fine, you should have said that at the beginning.
I apologize, I did mention it, but I don't think it was in the line.
That helps us out because the shul for the neighborhood.
There is,
Growing your current facility.
correct, there is, the traffic does exist there now, that will be accessing the shul.
We're not getting any more services, let's say you have 1 million in the morning, that's what you're gonna continue having now, you're not getting any, it's not gonna become a factory for many because of what you're having.
Not something.
It's intended as a neighborhood.
The shul that's there right now, they have trade services in the morning now? or-
Yes.
All right,
Did you say the you had one adjoining property?
Correct, the property to the rear, is 2 lots, 47.07, 47.88.
What's on there now?
What's that?
What, is there a house on there right now?
Yes, I believe there's currently, duplexes are on that property now. And their rear yard adds to this. Their rear yard isn't substantial enough, a variance would be needed in either direction.
so if he gives someone his land there, he'll still.
We still have to gain a variance for his work.
Okay,
There's a question about buffering. The applicant does agree to provide fencing and landscaping around the perimeter to address the buffer requirements in the ordinance. Correct, 6-foot privacy.
anyone from the public wish to be heard on this application? Please come to the front. You can just please state your name and address for the record, and then the the attorney will swear you in.
Betty Valentine, 305 Bush Avenue, Lakewood. This is my son John, he's about yeah, he does.
So they'll be sworn both of you, okay?
All right, please raise your right hand. Please swear affirm the testimony that you give before the court will be true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And you also swear affirm the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
You can provide your testimony.
I wrote it down, I get nervous.
Don't get nervous, Claire.
We're all nervous.
It's not a traffic ticket, we're fine here.
I get nervous on that too.
Get nervous with the traffic ticket either.
Thank goodness I forgot.
Good.
Okay, like I said, my name is Betty Valentine, and my husband is John. We live at 305 Bush Avenue, Lakewood, New Jersey.
Where is that in conjunction with this application? Right next door?
Yeah.
Okay.
305 Bush Avenue, since 1995. We bought this house on our property to raise our family, because it's home we saw. Which were many families looking for the same, because of the area. Generally, we all wanted to raise our families and enjoy life. We had an enclosed backyard fence in place to protect our children, and also in the front to help ensure protection of our home from Ocean Avenue, which is still a single lane highway that is really tormented daily with horrendous traffic. So, we thank God for keeping us safe by sustaining the strength of 2 trees that are located on the right and left of our front yard, and the strength of the telephone pole situated directly in front of the home that had been replaced 5 times due to accidents. We never really wanted to go out, went out of our way to make any friends, but we do consider ourselves friendly people. When the duplexes were being planned, we didn't like the idea because the size and the many windows facing into our backyard. In construction stages, they knocked down our rear fence and they endangered my grandchildren. The owner said he would fix it when the construction of this outside was over. So we kept our children indoors or children to the park. When my daughter came home early one day, my older daughter came home early one day, she followed an extension cord that was plugged into our deck, powering their work tools that was finally connected to a power saver. We then called the police and he apologized, which is the construction people, owner, and he offered to put up a new fence for us when he was done. But we said, okay, not trying to be angry. Once they completed the construction and placed in the wooden fence, we thought, great, now it's over. My husband was curious at the time because he noticed in the back of his shed, there was some areas and
Somewhat you said.
area. So we found it, after measuring it, they stole 5 inches from us. And maybe that was the plan all along, we're not sure. And we should know that that was the amount that was needed to make code originally. So we seemed to and so they did receive the variance. Once residents moved into the home, my husband and I decided that we must look for our lives to show respect to our new neighbors and how they live. I tried at all times to talk to my children on how not to dress in the backyard. We also canceled our plans to install a pool because we knew this would not be nice in general. We took our children swimming to beaches and local lakes. Now that the synagogue is going up, we are going to be closed in, and I and my family have lost all of our privacy. We don't even throw holiday parties anymore. We just have to ask, what part is for us? We have lived there for 2 years and we feel that we've been pushed away. Yeah, well, also my neighbor is here. She also has a blind cousin, and she was in the front yard. She told me to please relay the message because she does have a heavy accent. She walks her husband back and forth in the front and by the sidewalk, and they do have a good sized sidewalk. But, she's afraid with all the traffic in and out of he's a blind man. In and out, going out in and out to synagogue might be dangerous. But, I mean, right now, we all walk on that sidewalk, everybody. And everybody has a right to walk. We know that. Everybody has a right to worship. We know that too. I just personally would not make variance to the house, because right now, a lot of our privacy was taken away from us already. And I guess that's it, and I guess I'm just gonna ask that, you know,
I hear you.
that you understand.
Just to, I sympathize with you, I understand you, I just want, you know, you to understand that a synagogue like this in New York, well, this board follows ordinances given to us by the Lakewood Township. In the township, the synagogue is a permitted use, there's no, you know, again, it has to be safe, it has to be, enough parking, we have to, we look at other things, but the actual synagogue is a permitted use. But they still have to come in front of the board to make sure that there are, in your case, fences, there's buffers. But to say no, that you can't build a synagogue there when it is a permitted use, is something that this board really cannot do. But we can ask for buffers, we can ask for fences, we can ask for anything to keep the quality of your life as best as we can possibly do.
I do understand that, but they only allow 6-foot fences according to code.
If you would ask us to ask them for a higher fence, we would probably go along with your request to grant that variance. And some trees, and, you know, we definitely will do everything we can as a board to give you whatever we can, whatever quality of life we can give you, whatever privacy we can give you, we would definitely grant that.
Well, I know that the neighbors that we did meet because of this whole thing going on, they were very nice. But it still stands to reason that they would be maybe wrong, but I think they would take also a foot from the side of our house right now. A foot of land from the side of our house.
They can't take an inch of land from the side of the surface. It's a survey there, they can't do that. They're, I mean,
You know, your fence may lie not exactly on the property line,
Right.
but where their property ends and begins, this board is not granting them any permission to change where that line
So
is.
the fence will stay where it's at and not be moved at all?
Assuming your fence is not accidentally 2 feet onto the neighbor's property.
That's what I'm saying, is that, from what, I'm not, sorry. From what he told us, right, it's about a foot, it's about a foot that's going to be taken in somewhere and a foot. It's a straight line, so if it's taken in anywhere.
Are you saying that it's a foot on your property?
maybe Mr. Kishuba can explain.
If I might, our surveyors did locate the fence and the property line and have determined that the front half of the fence is on their property. However, the rear half, essentially from about this point to the rear, is actually on this property.
So what's there is this, the front half is on the right property?
Correct. The fence is in a straight line, but it's yeah, probably a degree or two off from straight. So it's approximately 2 feet onto the property at the front, but a foot onto our property at the rear.
Okay, so in other words, that fence that's on the shul property, is gonna be removed, and then replaced back onto.
Right on the property line. That would be our intention, and that's typically with the board engineer request.
So in other words, Ms. Valentin's fence is on the other property, it's gonna be removed and replaced back onto her property.
Correct. Or a portion of it is on our, this property.
What he's saying is that whenever someone, you know, I think what happened here is all these years, you gain violations. That's the way I'm understanding it. I'm sorry?
Almost like slaughter rights.
No, it's like every property is surveyed. and they go back to tax maps from hundreds of years or whatever, when it was originally subdivided, and they saw that whoever put that fence down originally, put it a little bit on their property, like half a foot or whatever. So they're just going to even it out, and yes, it feels like you're losing a foot that was yours up until now, but in essence, it really was theirs. Always yours, but it just never was.
And Mr. Chairman, if I might follow up on that, this board has no authority or jurisdiction over a property line dispute. We don't know if that survey is accurate, we don't know if it's not accurate. You mentioned squatters' right, you might have rights. I recommend that you contact an attorney to discuss whether, in fact, your fence is on your line, whether it's on their line, and if it's on their line, if it's over the line, what rights you might have. So this board can't deal with that.
So, does the zoning board know how much room I would have to actually have, or?
We can't give out advice or recommendations or anything. Consult with an attorney or with a surveyor or whoever with your team. That's all I can really recommend.
Okay, so,
To get back to this application, we're asking for a 6-foot fence. Did you want an 8-foot fence? Did you feel that the extra 2 feet would be better for your privacy?
I'm sorry, the 8-foot fence instead of the 6-foot?
Yes, I'm asking, is that
Yeah.
something you
Well,
would
where
want?
did the windows start?
There are windows along that side of the building. The main sanctuary is on the right side, so this side is the offices, the bathrooms, things of that nature, where windows would be necessary. We would agree to put an 8-foot fence if the board and the neighbors saw fit to do so.
We're gonna have like privacy windows that we can't see through.
We have no problem in doing privacy, frosted windows on that side.
That's something, would that be okay?
I guess that would be okay. I don't know, Master's not here, but I could tell them what they said. The only other thing was basically I already said that was the traffic. I mean, if you could just consider those things. Pearl Street, all those side streets don't have any parking because the duplexes don't have enough parking. They're all there already. So if you have anybody else when it comes to that synagogue, they would park it. That's honest, I'm not
I
lying.
hear you. Well, they can park on Route 88, so they're gonna either have to walk or not come, honestly, because Route 88, there's no parking on Route 88. And if you can't find a parking spot, then you'll have to find another synagogue to trade. And that's why we're not allowing them to rent it out during the week for any function. So,
What is a shul?
a shul is a synagogue. It's a Hebrew word for synagogue. Some say synagogues, not a school, no, I'm sorry, it sounds like school, no. But they can't have any functions there, any party functions. I mean, they have prayer services and stuff, but no party functions during the week.
No big bar mitzvahs during the week.
We don't have any either.
All right, okay, all right. Anyone else from the public, thank you for your comments. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard on this application? So, seeing no one goes into the public, I just have a question. First, I'll let you go this up, so maybe bring, yes.
I just hold on that the light should be shaded, it shouldn't go on to the next property.
Certainly, we will certainly make sure that all the lights, we are proposing a light on that side, which allows us to shield it from that property. So we'll make sure there's outside shields provided all the way.
The second thing, is it possible to get any more parking for this lot?
Unfortunately, due to the size of the lot.
The synagogue is 400 square feet.
Correct.
Mine is pretty low number.
Again, it is 2 more than what's required per the ordinance. There's not a substantial amount of area. It is a neighborhood shul. Everyone does walk there currently. The parking is provided to meet the ordinance demand. The parking at the current shul is much less than this, what they're using today.
How many is there in the whole shul?
Approximately 40 or 50 congregants.
Would it be 100 square foot shul instead, and you'll have parking? That will not
Obviously, this neighborhood is a little larger, so they want to be able to increase the congregants if necessary, and for Shabbos.
Okay. Any?
So you can probably get two more parking places there if you did two of them parallel with the property line. You have the curve going around, we have two parking lots.
I would agree, we did take a look at that. Once we physically laid it out, it looked like only one would fit and still be able to make the access. The problem with that stall is it then cuts us off from being able to provide a sidewalk to the street.
Okay.
It's not shown on the plan, but we're proposing, I testified that we're
Proposing a sidewalk up that right side.
correct. It was brought up in the board reviews letter, or the engineer's review letter, and it is part of the ordinance to provide access to the streets.
All right. Any other questions? Oh, I didn't see the garbage. The dumpster on this?
We do show a dumpster right here.
And, Jonathan?
It will be a full-size dumpster, be an area for cans.
Okay. Any other questions for any board members? This time I would, entertain a motion on this application. Oh, you had one more question quickly. No, that's fine. Come on quick. Sure.
Will there be a fire hydrant? In case of fire, we're gonna have a lot of those houses.
We're not proposing a fire hydrant, but again, all the lots are existing, we're not proposing any new streets.
Okay, fine. Okay, so at this point, I'll entertain a motion on this application.
Yeah, with concern, the fence.
Buffers and the light not shining on the neighbor's property.
The frosted windows, the, front doors.
The 8 foot is only along the western side.
Yes.
That's a solid vinyl fence, 8 foot solid vinyl.
Fence cannot encroach in front of this. I would have it.
We would step it down to 4 feet in the front yard setback.
So we have a motion by Mr. Flintstone, second by Mr. Herzl, roll call.
Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson?
No.
Mr. Herzl?
Yes.
Mr. Nyman?
Yes.
Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman? Mr. Renner? Mr. Patillo?
No.
Okay, we'll go to item number 4 now.
Thank you very much.
Item number, I'll take the agenda.
Yeah, let's wait.
Our next application is SB 2157, to various times. It's a major site plan for new school building and conversion of existing commercial building into a dorm located on New Hampshire Avenue.
Yes, there are, Chairman. Variance is requested for the rear yard setback.
If the audience could be quiet, it's hard to hear up here, step outside, please.
The application also required to be also required to be design waivers partially are requested for sidewalk curving or increase along the project frontage, for street lighting and shade tree.
Weinstein.
Good evening. Mary Weinstein on behalf of the applicant to verify. This application is for preliminary and final site plan approval to convert the existing commercial structure into a dormitory and construct an additional structure on the property that will serve as a school building for a boys' high school. We discussed this at length at the technical hearing, so I'm sure the board members recollect this. An important fact, there were no variances. We did initially request a variance for the, I think it was rear yard setback, but I think Terry actually pointed out in his letter that actually it's not necessary. So actually there are no variances. So actually this
One
is,
second.
Sure.
Just, fill this quiet here, I can't hear. Okay, continue.
so this is a variance-free, fully conforming application. The school currently has 90 boys enrolled. This is an existing school. The maximum capacity of the school would be 150 boys. Roughly 20 boys are proposed to live in the dormitory. The dormitory is only for post-high school. The high school boys will all be living at home, and they will be bused in to school. So that's the 9th through 12th graders, and there would be roughly 2 to 3 buses. There would be roughly about 90 to 100 boys would be bused. At this point, if I could ask to have Mr. Kashuba sworn. I trust that you'll accept Mr. Kashuba's credentials again this time. Okay, thank you. Mr. Kashuba, if you could describe the application, and most notably, if you could describe where the buses will be staged, and the bus circulation plan that I know this board always likes to see when we deal with school applications.
Sure. The application is at the corner of Salem and New Hampshire. It's an oversized lot with a substantial amount of wetlands on the property. Probably 50% of the lot is encumbered by wetland. The portion of the site we're developing is currently developed. It's the southern portion. The building here currently exists, as well as the front parking. What we're proposing to do, as indicated, is renovate the existing building, converting it to a school office and dormitory, and build a proposed school building to the rear of that, to the west. We are proposing a 20-foot rear yard setback, as noted by the board engineer. We had requested relief. That relief is only required for shuls, whereas this particular use does not require more than 20-foot rear yard setback. The proposed access to the site is off New Hampshire Avenue. We're proposing a loop road around the rear of the building. That loop road is substantial enough to allow for bus traffic to circulate the building. The proposed bus staging area would be right along the loop road on the left-hand side of the plan here. We have enough room for 2 buses to stage there for pickup and drop-off, while still proposing access to all of the parking in the front. The rear 2 parking stalls and 3 parking stalls would be encumbered while the buses are staging. But again, that's only for a limited amount of time during pickup and drop-off. We are staying outside the buffer area of the wetland. The proposed school will have approximately 20 classrooms, as well as offices. Will require 23 parking stalls. 38 parking stalls are proposed on site, so we are substantially compliant with parking necessary. We are requesting design waivers as indicated. The sidewalk along the front edge, again, this is New Hampshire Avenue, there are no sidewalks in this area, as well as there's a wetland associated stream here, which makes extension of sidewalk any further north essentially a moot point. We are requesting relief from providing curb along the project frontage so the county would have jurisdiction on that. We do provide street trees along the frontage, outside of the wetlands. We are proposing street trees in front of what we're building. We are not proposing street trees, again, on the north side here, which is big wooded area, which is to remain that way. We are not requesting the waiver from street lighting, we just have not indicated specifically the calculations and things necessary for Terry to properly review and approve the lighting plan. We will provide lighting for the parking areas, and we will provide shade tree and utility easements as is required by ordinance.
Okay. Any questions, board member, on this application?
Just one correction for the record, I think Mr. Kishuba said that there were gonna be 20 classrooms. There are, I think, 20 rooms, there are not gonna be 20 classrooms. This is a high school, definitely gonna be many fewer than 20 classrooms.
How many classrooms are?
Maximum 10, maximum 10.
And how many students are in the school now?
That is, right now there are 90 boys, the maximum capacity is 150, we're talking about the maximum would be 4 grades of high school and probably 3 grades of base measures post-high school, which would be 7 classes, so there's definitely not gonna be 20 classrooms.
I just want to say that, the traffic in the area is horrendous. That the traffic, especially in the morning, like, we travel the road every morning. It's dangerous, it's seriously dangerous. I would just throw out there that, if we do have, I'm not sure what we can do this, but I would recommend that maybe if we do move to approve it, there are no variances, that's writing a letter to the county to consider a traffic light there. When they look at this plan, because it's extremely dangerous.
That's cool right across the street.
Absolutely, there's another school across the street, there's another school across the street.
The county, if I might, the county as part of the application process takes a look at the impact of traffic in the area, and if they see it's warranted, will request a payment towards traffic improvements in the area. So it is a standard part of the process in any site plan application.
I understand, but I would say that we recommend look at the traffic lights over there in the area. I'm not saying right behind State Street, but I'm talking about somewhere there in the area.
But New Hampshire is a county road, so this application is certainly subject to county approval.
Yes.
I wonder why you wouldn't anticipate that requirement.
Slip, we only turn right on there. Only make a right in and a right out. 100%.
That entrance does exist, is currently there, and any right in, right out requirements will be subject to county approval. It's their jurisdiction as far as access rights onto their roadway. So if they see fit to require that.
I think we would require it here, a right in and right out, and recommend that to the county. I think that's what we're hearing. Let's not wait for the county to provide it. We feel that this is a necessary right in, right out. To make a left turn on the hinge over there is crazy. It's not. It's not. Yes.
As far as the garbage place, I don't know why you don't go to public works before you come to, so they can make a decision how they want to fix it. Literally, the experience I have, the only way you can do it is going straight back, where you have the drains going across the road. So change that curve, go straight back to your parking, put a dumpster right at the end, switch truck and go straight in. Right here. Okay, yeah, well, you change that curve around straight. You put the dumpsters in there and then back out, go right around, come back up.
We'll certainly take a look at that and meet with Public Works to work that out. We do have a substantial area here as well that we could.
You can do it.
Okay.
You could have a straight shot at it. For a dumpster.
Well, that is the most likely location for it, so we'll certainly look at that as a revision.
Is there any way that public works could look at some of these types of
I'm going to
locations?
ask you for a few years.
In Lakewood? Could be, yes. Is it likely?
Why not?
Why?
If you go there, go look at it. Well, you could make it one.
It's usually covered, unfortunately, under correspondence, except for the applications where they have heard Mr. Franklin's comments and specifically gone out of their way to get that meeting done before the public hearing. But we don't often see it, typically it's the resolution.
And if public works agree with that,
Just the thing that I just brought up now, taking the whole parking area.
hypothetically speaking, if an application ever came in, it's a normal workshop, then agreed with the owner to follow the code, there will be a limited amount of time. As you can tell, we have part of that time getting people to allow you to move that.
Golf course first, and then you gotta prove my golf course, because the site plan changed.
I'll tell you, we're very accommodating. We're very accommodating, and people push. You know, if you wanna do it this way, the board has the authority to say, no, we're not ready. You wanna get the reviews that you need. I'm not saying to do this out.
Because like Mr. Franklin is saying, the placing this dumpster in the right place for public works is gonna alter the whole bus traffic, right?
Well, it won't alter, it will make it wider. It goes directly back alongside the building, pick it up, then you can back out.
We have no objection to providing the trash in that location. What it'll do is actually widen the parking area right here. It won't be in a traveled way, we'll just widen this curve out, essentially create this angle and allow for a trash area. So we have no objection.
Any other questions or comments from the board members? Anyone from the public wish to be heard on this application? Just state your name and address for the record, please.
G. What are you listening?
Your address?
I'm right next door to the yeshiva.
603.
1610
Just raise your hand and affirm.
If you're from that's what they can put toward the $2 or not. You have to say,
Yes.
not in your head, yes.
The yeshiva is on the side of my house, my property, it's a home property. Basically, I know the council has, a lot of yeshivas there, but why is the issue? Just being forced to use both sides, because the yeshiva is set back, so there's windows in front and windows beside, and I need a high, solid fence as well. Both sides, because the yeshiva is set back, so my backyard,
I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
It
I
comes
need
in,
an L.
need an L fence.
Right, around, and it's around the wetland buffer, for, because there's wetlands there. So, around the wetland buffer,
You see this map over here?
yes, that's,
You see your house there?
I have a house and I have a garage, that's my, that white person, sales street, that's my garage.
We're looking at
In
it.
front of it is my house.
For the record, this is a map. We have Google Earth map, we have these from board.
That's my house, and that's my garage, and the building yeshiva over here. Right, they're extending it, that's the dormitory, but right next to the big yeshiva right in the back here. So basically, they're knocking down this raised building, and privacy in my yard, it's gonna be wide open, over 100,000.
Coming all the way up the trees?
Over here. But the, one parking lot as well.
If I might add, those structures are shown on the plan. So they are, you can locate them with respect to where we're close to the building.
I just don't see where so many trees see, I don't see where they're coming out.
That, in the winter, it's all, yeah, that's the summer, but you go right out to the property, it's all see-through straight up. I go to the backyard with my kids, and I do for the future as well, with playing in the back, and I basically have a property I'm not going to use because it's wide open. So, you should tell me they'll put up a fence, and they'll put the non-seeker windows in the
All right,
wall.
that's fine.
Right, I just want to make sure they're
So we'll
gonna.
put that in the
So it's
resolution.
also on the L type, on the L.
Okay. So put frosted windows to provide privacy to the neighbor and a privacy fence.
We're looking at 6-foot fence, and when you're saying L, you mean along the side and back of your property.
Delaware. Right.
Oh, I'm sorry, this way.
This way, right, exactly, because it's far set back. Again, the sun, right now, there's no leaves, it's all, the drainage won't be a problem, it won't be draining in, on my yard, that's all, I take care of the drainage situation, the drainage. Go down the hill,
Mr. Kishuba, gentleman has a question about drainage. Are you going to spill water onto his property?
you're going to the garage, you know, it's.
No, his property is substantially higher than the wetlands adjacent. Our proposed drainage system will flow to the wetlands as it does in the current condition. There is not a substantial amount of increase in impervious coverage in our
You're
most
raising your grade or anything?
We are raising the grade as a result of the building in order to provide a drainage system. We are proposing a substantial drainage system along the rear, which will discharge to the wetlands.
So where you're raising the grade of your building, will that run on his property?
No, we're raising the grade, we're following the grade at the rear of the building. We're raising the grade at the front.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes, what he's saying is that the drainage from this facility is going to go into his stormwater systems and ultimately discharge downstream to the wetlands.
Correct.
All this information, you know, based upon your information, will lower than his property.
That's correct. As a result of this application, with the amount of runoff on his property will actually reduce.
Sir, so that's the engineering as investment bid.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone in the public? Seeing none, we'll close it to the public and we'll entertain a motion on this application. We have a motion and a second. Privacy fence, frosted windows. Right turn in, but he said with a slip road. Okay. I have a second, roll call, I can't hear. I'm just telling you, I can't hear. I can't hear. We're not, I can't. Really, just- Roll call, please.
Mr. Franklin.
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson.
Yes.
Mr. Herzl.
Yes.
Mr. Nyman.
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Radford, step down. Mr. Patillo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Continuing back to application SB 2037, Congregation Hall, Texas. It's a major site plan for proposed synagogue at Elmwood Avenue. I'm actually gonna pull it up, especially
I'm just asking, you just speak why you bring this application. It's really, really hard to hear out there, it's hard to understand, trying to listen to testimony, it's just not fair. Everyone talking, really. You don't have to stop the meeting, if I can't hear, then I'm just gonna stop. I will go home. Okay,
this application?
I believe that there's one chairman, variance has been requested for front yard setback. I believe there's also some study, with respect to the perimeter buffer, as well as the design with, street lighting.
Regarding traffic.
Okay, Mr. Pfeffer.
Good evening, I'm Trevor Tinder, the applicant. Bill Flannery here, Mr. I just wanted to state, as we heard in the previous application, because you guys were, the board was, wanted to hear if this is a new synagogue or if it's going to be for a community synagogue. There currently is, this is an existing synagogue that occupies 2 basement units that combine approximately about 3,300 square feet of space. The new building, the new sanctuary is only going to be about 1,000 square feet larger. And the reason for that, they're trying to accommodate that the children come and the women come along with their families. So I want you to understand that this is not a new shul up to the area, but an existing shul that is right behind this property. With that, someone to swear in Brian Flannery to address us now.
I do. Brian Flannery, Jackson, New Jersey, licensed professional engineer, professional planner. The application is indicated. Board recommend. The application is indicated is for a house of worship on an existing lot. As Mr. Pepper has indicated, there's an existing congregation that uses the basements of a couple of homes for the purposes at this point. I marked 2 exhibit. A1 is a rendered version showing in red the proposed house of worship and the parking lot on the lot. A2 is a copy of the tax map, and it shows the property frontage along Hillside Boulevard, just to the south of Kelwood, and this is in Westgate where there's houses all around. As indicated in the report, 1 variance was requested for front yard setback. We're showing a front yard setback of 20 feet. Where 30 feet is required, so we're requesting relief for a 10-foot on the front yard setback. It is on Hillside Boulevard, which is like the road through Westgate. The parking lot has 1 entrance that comes out on Hillside Boulevard. The sanctuary is 4,300 plus square feet, and we provided 45 parking spaces.
The orientation of your exhibit there, is that the one?
Yeah, that's A1.
How does the orientation compare to the Google Earth map?
That whole green area, that whole green area, the lot is almost 5 acres.
He has it upside down.
Thank you.
That's now in the same orientation as
Still up. Oh, wait, actually.
yeah. This is Hillside Boulevard. We're building the orange one shows the same thing. This green lot is this green area.
I'm sorry, down here, I believe these are unbuilt lots. See, this orientation of this roadway, Kingsfield, follows the bottom of what is now the bottom of this Flannery's exhibit.
So the green actually goes out of the trees.
So the green coincides with the trees and the parking lot would be here. And the building is proposed.
Yes.
Where's the central?
Straight down.
New Central is up. Yeah.
Thank you.
Where's the existing shul?
The existing shul. Stay still for a minute. The existing shul is the basement of those.
Okay,
adjoining
right,
property.
right.
Yes. Looking at Terry's report, he indicates on the variances, the front yard setback, which I've indicated, This is an inherently beneficial use. If we look at the master plan with respect to the master plan of 2007, indicates encourage development and redevelopment based on smart growth planning principles. Municipal land use law, NJAC 45:. The two purpose of the act, A is to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use of and development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. It's my testimony that by providing an inherently beneficial use, virtually getting the people out of the basement into a proper facility, is certainly promoting the general welfare. Under E, the G under that is to provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of agricultural, residential, recreational, and commercial uses. And this does that also. This, as I'm sure the board is aware, Westgate was an application that was done when the property was in the SPD zone, the special planning district. John probably remembers that, because that's from a long time ago. It's since been rezoned to R15. We have a large conforming lot in the R15 zone. This is a permitted use. The relief that we're asking for is for the front yard setback. If the board feels that's not warranted, as you can see on A1, we could push the building further back.
The front portion of the building, if need be, you remove this section, put it and push it to the back of the building. It's the actual sanctuary. We put big applications for the wetlands there, and it'll just be a larger application.
And when we make an application to the DEP, they're gonna wanna see that we've attempted to, go in other directions rather than go back. If we come to the DEP and say, listen, we went to the board, and the board said maintain the 30 feet, that's the answer why we have to go a little further into the slope. That is, if you can see on, the Google Maps, that's a detention basin that was created there. We can provide the same storage, by some retaining walls and other methods. So that is something that can work, but when you go to the DEP, they ask, do you have to go this far into that area?
I was even thinking more, I guess why there were a lot, I just studied it thoroughly the last couple of days. Hillside Boulevard over there is very narrow. Hillside Boulevard is an area where in the morning there are 1,000 kids standing waiting for buses, and hundreds of buses going by. To have a shul this size, where it's just going to bring so much more traffic to the area. I was thinking of asking people why did Hillside Boulevard. I don't know who I asked for that, but in order to even have a shul there, to accommodate a shul of this magnitude, you would need to widen Hillside Boulevard. You can't put a shul there.
If we could address any, we also have traffic testimony, traffic expert done, us reports, I'm asking to address any of those issues going into our traffic. It is a township road. It's not something we would be able to do.
And the traffic engineer would really be the one that can give you his opinion on that.
I can listen to testimony from a traffic engineer. We all know what Hillside Boulevard looks like. I don't need a traffic engineer to tell me that there are 100 buses there in the morning and that there are in and out.
So when you get to it, we are creating a parking lot with 45 parking spaces. All the cars are parked up all along Hillside Boulevard. Theoretically, that section should be coming up more inside.
Theoretically, but we all know that's not gonna happen.
There are also, like I said, it's an existing shul. We are adding to the sanctuary area 1,000 square feet approximately. So we are not, I'm not adding any more services that are currently happening. It's going to be a running services. The time set that's at now. It's not an expansion.
It's no simple all the way.
We have basically, it'll just be for, again, for Shabbos use.
no bricks in the morning, and no shamrock or
We will
surfboards.
do that, if that's the board feels like we have no problem complying with that.
I have a question for you, Mr. Flannery. This just looks like, vacant area, it looks like it's got wet contours and all wooded. What's the relationship of this to the overall subdivision? It was first of all created, how does this still appear today? What's the history of this property? Was it somehow set aside when the rest of the development was,
I don't have the specifics on that. It's one of the few projects we didn't do the design for it.
Set aside as open space.
It clearly looks like it was set aside as an open space. The applicant's, the objector's attorney indicated to me that it was a site that there was a tax lien that was sold on it, it was foreclosed. And I don't know that as fact.
I'm anticipating, because I've had conversations with Mr. Westgate as well as Mr. Webster, today, throughout today, and they provided me with cases, so I'm just anticipating, they're asking something, so I just want to get that out there now.
But from a planning perspective, it's a legally existing lot that the congregation has the ownership that they can present this application.
Like, no deed restrictions on the property.
Well, these restrictions were set aside when the subdivision was initially created, that creates some other.
But it would not be the first open space lot in a Lakewood subdivision that a shul was built on. It's done all the time. It's my testimony, first of all, if the board doesn't want to grant the front setback variance, the applicant would amend the application, remove the building back, and comply with the front setback. If the board is inclined to grant the variance, I think it's a C2 variance, where you get a C2 variance, we have to show that it relates to a specific piece of property. This is clearly a specific piece of property. We have to show that the purposes of the municipal land use law are advanced. And I read from the municipal land use law, where in my opinion it can be advanced. We have to show that the variance can be granted without any detriment to the public good. And it's my testimony that we have an existing shul, so a lot of the parking issues and a lot of the traffic issues that we're discussing are going to be the same whether this occurs or not. Parking, providing 45 parking spaces for this inherently beneficial use, I think would actually improve that. And the traffic engineer will give his testimony on that as well. We have to show that the variance will not impair the intent and purpose of the master plan zoning ordinance, and it certainly doesn't. The master plan also on page 39 specifically mentions houses of worship, and it starts off with there's an acute need for sites for neighborhood synagogues based on the expansive growth. It goes on to indicate that they're needed, and I think we all know they're needed. And this is a situation where it is needed so that this congregation can get out of the basement. And then we have to show that the benefits outweigh the detriments, and it's my testimony that the benefits of providing this inherently beneficial use, the benefits of a parking lot where 45 cars can park off the street outweighs any detriments associated.
This is not an inherent beneficial use. So you don't have to show.
But
The only thing the board has to, this is permitted, it isn't appropriate, so that's all established. The question is whether the variances are supportable, and you have C variances. And you just list them?
the front yard setback from 20 feet where 30 feet is required. But we also need relief on the buffer, which is a variance, it's a waiver, and certainly will provide fencing and landscaping in accordance with the intent of the ordinance with respect to buffer.
So, under C2, you feel that the variance is going to be granted because they promotes the purposes of zoning.
Yes. I think it's a unique property. It advances the purpose of zoning. It doesn't have a negative impact the surrounding area, providing the parking lot with the cars can park off the street, in my opinion, actually improves the area. And by providing fencing and landscaping, we address the aesthetic concerns.
Under C1, you rely on the size of the property and property?
No, I don't think it's really a hardship. We could go to the hardship based on the configuration and the existing conditions of the property, but I don't think it's.
Well, you really can't put the property, the building anywhere else because of the wetlands, right?
Yes.
So doesn't that have a factor on your?
Well, as I indicated, I think I could make the argument that it's a hardship because of the nature of the
Well,
property.
if you can, I want you to.
Okay.
I anticipated a deal on this.
Okay.
I'm looking at this. I'm not trying to telegraph what I think about the other issues.
Right.
Just in terms of the bulk variances. And we have a very large piece of property there.
Yeah.
You're putting a building up. And you have to put that building up in the corner. I mean, this is just what I see from.
Yes, the only buildable area of the site is along Hillside Boulevard, and it's a very limited area. We need permits from the DEP in order to build what we have there. So there's really no other location.
So under C1, I mean, the topography, uniqueness, features affecting the land.
Yes, yes. Yes, and as I said, I think that's there, but I think the compelling argument is that the benefits outweigh the detriment, and to go a step further than that, if the board doesn't want to grant that relief, we can build it without asking.
I'm putting aside the other issues about whether
Right, yes.
open space or.
Yes, certainly the geometry and the topography of the site and the fact that there's only a small area on a large lot that can sustain the development. And I know we don't have to show that it's an inherently beneficial use because they're allowed, but I think when the board looks at the bulk variance relief, they would look at it differently for inherently beneficial use than they would for, some other type of.
Thank you. And don't take any signal from my asking questions.
So, going through the rest of Terry's report, he indicates in item 3 that there's disturbance to the 20-foot landscape buffer. And as I indicated, we would provide fencing and landscaping to the board engineer's satisfaction to meet the intent of the ordinance. A design waiver is requested from the UDO in respect to the driveway being 40 foot wide, and we'll have a traffic engineer testify why it's done that way. There's a turning lane and one lane coming in and one lane coming out. So it's my opinion, and the traffic engineer will give his opinion that that is appropriate.
There also are these spots, where is the curb cut, where the edge was of the parking lot is going in. So there are some mechanical boxes there that they access around. So this is not that we're adding a new curb cut, we're already existing.
I'm not adding a curb cut. That's amazing.
Can I just ask, why is the union limit the driveway with 30 feet for non-residential driveways? What's the purpose of it?
You try to limit it so that it's not too wide, so that it's a free-for-all. And 30 feet, certainly anything within 30 feet is good. And when you go beyond that, you come in and you show the reasoning on why you do it. If you have a very wide driveway, then you get a free-for-all.
So it's for traffic control?
Yes, yes. Item 1 is with reference to the maintenance of the property. And if the board acts favorably on this application, we would meet with Public Works with respect to maintenance and trash pickup. And whatever Public Works stipulates is what we do on that. If Public Works says they can't maintain it and they can't pick up the trash, then it would be private trash and private maintenance of the property. The side yard setback, we're proposing 10 feet, which is in accordance with the ordinance. The traffic circulation, the traffic engineer will address. As I indicated previously, we provided 45 parking spaces
for the 4,368 square foot sanctuary, in accordance with the parking required for the ordinance.
This parking lot is flush against the that's in the corner there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are gonna ask that to be smaller, then we'll take away some parking. The sensitivity and privacy of that, we'll figure out how much.
And certainly the applicant would be agreeable to,
Okay. Is that your testimony, Brian?
yes. And the other items in Terry's report, we would satisfy this comment.
Absolutely. Okay, is there a, Mr., are you on this application, Mr. Gazarovski? Would you like to come forth and?
Sean?
Yes.
Let the record reflect, my name is Ron Gazarovski, I'm the legal officer of Westgate, New Jersey. And obtained by a gentleman named Douglas Vogel, who resides at 150 Prospect Street, township of Lakewood. Located in Center Volume, and I'm representing the objectives and character of this matter. Before I commence examining Mr. Flannery, may I ask if it's also my colleagues intend to call his testimony as well? No, your civil. So you're not going to call the engineer who designed these plans, who designed the plans before this board. Well, I'm going to object to the testimony which is between the two of us from Mr. Flannery, because he is testifying as a planner. He's referring to a set of plans which have been prepared by our organization known as new plans. And now I'm being told that we're not going to call Mr. Glenn Lyons to verify his drawing, so there's no way of cross-examining him. And basically, Mr. Flannery could be relying upon his plan without it really being introduced in evidence and considered by the board. This is nothing more than a plan prepared by somebody else who's not going to testify with regard to it.
Chairman, if I can, my recommendation to the board is that the municipal land use law says that the strict rules of evidence shall not apply. The board is given a great deal of latitude in what will accept evidence or not accept evidence. I'll let Mr. Pfeffer address it as far as Mr. Flannery is speaking to. I just want you to know, it's not a court of law, and the strict rules of evidence do not apply.
Mr. Flannery, have you had an opportunity prior to the hearing tonight to review the plans?
Yes.
Have you spoken with Mr. Lyons or Luan to discuss any questions you may have?
Yeah.
Do you feel you're familiar with all the any testimony that you have at this point?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery, what's the total square footage of this building?
On the plans indicated 9,000.
This question is asked to be defined.
I can certainly read the number off the plan, if that makes it. The sanctuary size is.
Total square footage.
Total square footage is 9,672 square feet.
9,672 square feet. The whole building.
The whole building. 2 floors. Yes.
That's not what it shows there? See, here it shows 13,967. We'll go with your testimony that the total square footage for the building is 9,672. That's fine. So just let the record reflect that the total square footage of the building is 9,672 square feet. Okay?
Site plan they're referring to, I'm not sure whether that's the footprint of the building or whether that's.
The total square footage of the building, that's what I asked.
This is 1 story.
This is 2 stories.
Maybe we take a look at that.
You have the opportunity.
I'm looking at the site plan that shows.
Okay, so we'll continue with and we'll have the record reflect that the total square footage for this building is 9,672 square feet.
Recognize that, the testimony,
But that's a mistake, obviously. No, it's not.
Your first floor is 9,300, your second floor is 4,600.
That's what I thought. The total footprint is 9,000. The total square footage based on the architectural is
Right.
13,900.
roughly, a little over 4,000. 14,000.
Right.
Not 9,000, 14,000.
Architectural plans were submitted with the application, and the architectural plans show the areas that Mr. Franklin indicated. I reviewed the engineering plans, not the architectural plans. The engineering plans show the footprint, which was the number that I tested.
And, you know, it's difficult for a transcript to convey the tenor and the full information that's being given by the chairman. I took that from your inflection, from your facial gestures. You all understand that the plan showed 13,000 square
No,
feet.
can I tell you what happened? I'll tell you what happened.
I know there's more to that.
There was a plan initially for 9,672. That was the initial application a year or 2 years ago for 9,672. Now there's a new building for 13,000 square feet. So the building grew over these last years, and I just want you to know that. So when Mr. Gazarovski asked for the architect, for the engineer, the civil engineer to be here, that's why. There's the two sets of plans.
And I understand that wasn't lost on the chairman. I know you're right. It'll just, so that's why I want to bring this up. But if you understand that,
But the clarification of this, I apologize for that. The plans that are before the board showing the footprint. Is that footprint on the plan before the board show 9,000 square feet?
I don't have footprints, I have architectural. So I don't know the footprint.
The building footprint is 96. That the story is 46.
Don't say 96.
That's correct.
I have here 93.
96.
Chairman,
The architectural is showing the floor area, not they're measured differently. Sometimes you measure to the outside of the wall, the inside of the wall. The architect's concerned with what's in the building. The engineer has shown the maximum footprint of disturbance, which is the 9,600 square feet.
for what it's worth, take it one either way, at the board's discretion, but the coordination of those numbers between the site plan and the architectural plans is rarely finalized until resolution compliance, because you've got architects trying to prepare the plans at the same time that the engineers are trying to prepare the site plans. They've got clients breathing down their necks who are trying to meet my deadlines so they can get plans to prepare your review. So we've got plans coming in from 3 different places, and we hope that they match by the time they get here when they want them.
Okay.
at the root of this was Mr. Gazarovski's objection, and that's the objection about, that's a micro plan, so I think the board should rule on that.
So, again, part of this was, you have a civil engineer prepare the plans, and you have an engineer that's giving testimony. We see that there are going to be discrepancies if we don't have the civil engineer, and I understand Ryan does that, which is fine,
That's even tolerated under the rules of evidence.
I get that,
Expert can
right?
give testimony based on the documents, data prepared by other experts in the field, that's ordinarily relied on. Those are the technical rules of evidence. How you exercise your discretion, what you allow and what you don't allow, it's up to you, but you certainly have the latitude, even under the rules of evidence, to say yes or no, depending on how it goes. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want
So
to.
continue.
Let me just clarify one thing, Mr. Clark. You may have misheard your testimony, perhaps it's a comment. At the present time, I think we say that there was a shul being conducted in the basement two existing residential homes. Is that
Correct.
And what is the square footage of each of the individual basements in those individual homes?
I don't have that.
Well, we're talking, your testimony is that we're not having a great deal of difference between the square footage of the operation of the shul. We know now that the proposal that's being put forth in this architectural plan is roughly 14,000 square feet. And the testimony has been that there's no way very different between that and what's supposed to be there. So tell me what the size of the shuls are in these two houses.
Well, my testimony is that the parking, already occurred because the same families are there praying. So,
That's not my question.
but, and your question, I don't need to study what size the basements are for a conforming application and a permitted use. I know that the families pray there. I know that this is an existing congregation that wants to come out of the ground. So if you squeeze all the people into a couple basements or provide a building that fits them properly, it really has no correlation, and I didn't study it because it's not necessary.
So we should excise from this transcript any testimony you did regarding the shul doesn't mean the basements.
Well, that's your testimony, and my testimony is different.
Now, you are trying to testify, as I understand it, as a planner, right?
A planner and an engineer, right? I've reviewed the engineering plans, I'm ready to discuss any engineering details. I've looked at the engineering comments from the board's engineer, and we've agreed to satisfy this.
So now your testimony is not only you being qualified as an expert, but you're also going to give testimony as an expert engineer.
If testimony is necessary as an expert engineer,
Despite the fact that the applicant's engineer was here, but we refused to produce it.
but there's no reason to produce them, there's no question on the engineering. The engineering is straightforward, we don't have any relief required on the engineering. We have relief required on a planning issue of a front yard setback.
I'll ask an engineering question. Is there a stormwater management report for this application?
Yes, there was.
Please.
Probably on file.
I'll have to see. I can see.
I don't know if you requested a copy of the plans in the first meeting.
Mr. Flannery, prior to coming here, I take it that you reviewed the review letter of Remington Building, which is dated January 15,
Yes, I did.
and you read it from top to bottom.
Yes.
I think you already testified that this property is a part of an earlier site plan, dealing with a special development zone, created the entity known as Westgate.
Yes.
Now, that entity, Westgate, is a file map, is it not?
Yes, it is.
And I think if you look at the first page of Mr. Lowe's report, it refers to file map number J-2881, which is filed on December 17th of
Yes.
application to review that some part of that.
No, I have not.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Does that site plan include this parcel?
Yes.
That was the original, I'll call it the mother
Yes.
development,
Yes.
of which this was part of that subdivision.
Yes. Our town is marked as, what if I know for identification. Let me represent, the board, that this is a document that was provided to me by, Ms. Marks, I believe she received it from Fran Siegel, who was the zoning board secretary, because the original iteration of this was approved back in 1998, was approved by the zoning board of adjustment, not by the planning board.
This is the example of why the strict rules of evidence are applied. Strict rules of evidence don't apply, which is why, the board is this refill in both directions. Mr. Gazarovski, you represent that that's a copy of the
I
map?
represent to the board that this is the document that I received from Ms. Morris, and she received it from
I believe I forwarded you the resolution, I'm not sure where you got copies.
Then I received the plans from the
Does it appear to be authentic? Does it have the right signatures?
It's a general development plan.
I have the entire set of plans, but I only chose this as.
I know you said that, I just want to name the engineer that's on there, or
Let me read into the record.
revision dates, et cetera, just so I
Let me
know.
read into the record that this is a plan that is being verified property development services. It's entitled the amended preliminary development plan, development plan, lot 5, 6, 7, 7, 71, 72, 73, 86, lot 1, 1, 5. If you look at this,
I'm just gonna object, as I don't know if this is the final version, I don't know if this is the final and or the final version with the signatures on this. Ron can continue his question, I just wanted to know for the record.
if you look at this, you'll see there's a north arrow.
Just to confirm, there's no,
I've got 3 of these, you know.
there's no good faith basis to believe this isn't the authentic map,
No,
right?
I don't know if it's the final version, I can't tell you if anything has changed much to the numbers. This version is the one
Brian,
that's
you
fine.
can bring an extra easel next time.
If you look at this, you see this is the north arrow. If you look further out, you can see this winding road, which on this is identified as Marywood, which is now on the hillside. This area over here, is the property that we're speaking of. This is the area, which is in basically the center, being surrounded by the residential homes, as you can see. There's a wetlands line, there's a wetland buffer line. And right here, I'd like you to look at this. On this map, this is identified as detention basin, is it not?
Yeah.
So on this particular application, when it was before the zoning board, this lot in its entirety was designated for the use of the detention basin.
Well, what you're indicating here, if you look at A2, that's the detention basin lot, lot 27.
Okay, but it's immediately adjacent to this wetlands area over here, is it not?
Well, that's a general development plan that doesn't give all the lot lines.
Okay, and the wetlands, buffer and the wetlands properties, they are all located, on what is now known as lot 28, are they not?
That is correct.
And if you look at the tax map over here, as you can see, these areas which are outlined over here, they are all designated as wetlands, correct?
There are wetlands shown on lot 28.
Right, so this lot 28, when it was originally approved at the zoning board, was open space.
Yeah.
This plan was approved by the zoning board 18 years ago, did not have a provision for the construction of any houses or shuls or anything else on this lot.
The general development plan does not show any other development on that.
Can I ask a question to clarify this? Because first, Mr. Gazarovski, you identified it as a detention basin and then as wetlands. So it's wetlands. And then you also, please also cover, you asked whether this was open space. Now, open space might be designated as open space, or it might be open space as a byproduct, or just as a matter of fact. I mean,
The general development plan that's shown does not use the word open space.
Yeah.
It also doesn't show any delineation, any engineering details or any delineation between the detention basin and the portion of the lot.
The reason why I want to understand this, members of the board, is because that could be important. If there was a plan where this was an actual basin, or it was delineated, and a notice on the plan, this shall remain as open space, that's different than if it's just open space because there was no plan to do anything with it at that time. And wetlands is different than a detention basin. So I just wanted to make sure those words don't get mixed.
That would be in the minutes of that approval.
Pardon me?
That would be in the minutes of that approval.
We have the resolution, it's from the 90s, I looked at it, the resolution is very broad that I saw, that I was provided by Mr. Pfeffer today. And I'll let Mr. I want Mr. Gazarovski to make his case. I apologize for interrupting, but I also wanted to make sure I understood the distinction between open space, I'll call it small L and small s, as opposed to capital L and capital S.
I just want to clarify again, that lot 27, it's not a lot of, it's not a question, it's the contiguous lot, is a detention basin that is owned by the Lakewood Township, which I confirm that the tax records are here today.
Is that visible on the,
Yes, that,
On 82, oh, I don't have
what about your watch? Is that still on your wrist?
I can highlight lot 27 in yellow.
I don't want the board to think that, again, that we took a portion of the detention basin, we're not building on it. It's a completely separate lot that is owned by the township. Happens to be contiguous.
Is the resolution available right now?
Yeah.
Minutes, minutes.
I have a copy of a resolution. Now, I don't know if this is the whole thing or not. This is provided to you by Okay, please. I apologize for it.
Let me just ask one question. With regard to the stormwater runoff on the proposed development, is it going into this potential basin?
Runoff from the entire site ends up in the township detention.
My question is the runoff coming from this project?
And I'm confused when you say this project. Do you mean the original overall development or this specific application?
When this project, when the Westgate project was conceived and developed 18 or 20 years ago, the detention base, which is shown to be here on lot 27, served as the detention base for runoff coming from the entire site, correct? A portion of the site.
Portion of the site, correct.
On the proposal that you have, which calls for impervious surface in the northwest corner and impervious surfaces in the southwest corner, is that also draining onto this wetland area over here and then into the detention basin?
Some of it drains, a small percentage drains directly into the detention basin, and the stormwater report shows that all of the flows have been reduced in accordance with state standards. This is a stormwater report that gets reviewed by the planning board's engineer, and will also be reviewed by the Department of Environmental Protection before this applicant can get the approval for the general permits that are needed. So the impact on that basin would be reduced by this development, because that is what's required by the state stormwater standards.
I think the question was only does this drain into that basin?
Some of the water drains into it, but there'll be less water draining into it after the development than there is before it.
I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Mr. Cleveland, can I show you a copy of the resolution of the Lakewood Township Board of Adjustment? This resolution was approved in Appeal on 2861. It was on January 4th of 19.
It's either 98 or 96. It's a long time.
Mark this as 02, I have copies as well. Now, Mr. Fletcher, I'm sorry, Mr. Flannery, I don't believe you testify on this application.
I did not.
Have you ever seen this resolution?
I have not.
Will you acknowledge that in fact, the applicant was seeking use variances because they believe that it's only at that time, commercial uses were not permitted so there was a use variance that was granted.
I know there was a use variance that was granted. I was at the meetings when it got approved, And I also know from just practicing since back then when you were in high school, that, the special planning district had no requirements, it had no zoning regulations, so the applicant had to come to the zoning.
We gotta use it.
Yes, and he got a use variance.
I want to draw your attention to page 4, capital letter C, of that resolution. And I'm going to read it to you. It says, in the event that the applicant shall change any of the foregoing plans and conditions, the applicant shall first apply to this board for relief from such conditions. Now, when they refer to this board, that includes zoning board of adjustment for the applicant.
Clearly.
Now, further, when it says that I'm not changing any of the foregoing plans, what you are proposing, or what is now known as Lot 2, is a change in the plan of the original application and approval, is it not?
With respect to the specifics of it, I would not necessarily agree with you. And since I haven't read this, I don't know if this is relating to the general development plan or the subdivision plan. And typically, when the board puts a condition in like that, there's latitude on if anything changes, because clearly in every job, things change to some extent.
I understand that. Now, are you telling me, now there are different kinds of changes, there's major changes and minor changes.
Yeah.
Now, we know what the original plan had as an area here where the wetlands were delineated, and this was in fact vacant property, was it not?
Yeah.
Now, would you recall the adding of a 14,000 square foot building as well as a parking field consisting of approximately 45 cars on the roadway and the houses as well as the midfield, which is located here? Major change or no change?
Well, certainly it's not no change. And a major change depends on what scale you're looking at. When you look on the scale of the general
Can I
development.
interrupt you for one moment? I think we should put this in terms of material change as opposed to major or minor, because who knows what that is, but the MLUL.
Just material change.
Okay, just, that's
So,
what,
do those things I've just described, as to this particular lot, is a wetlands, are located, you're seeking to encroach into the wetlands buffer, are you not?
Yes, we are.
Would you call that a material change?
I would not call encroaching into the wetland buffer material change.
This I also would make an objection that this is not the final resolution. There was an amendment to this. You're asking a question about finality. This is not the final version.
We're looking at this resolution here. This resolution says very clearly, does it not, that if it's filed,
Whether a change requires a go back to the
well, let me just go further here. When you read this, it says that any of that applicant change any of the foregoing plans. The applicant shall first apply to the board will be for such condition. Now, this resolution doesn't say if the applicant proposes a material change. It says any of the foregoing plans and conditions, and clearly, this is a change, is it not?
This is a change.
Let me now go, if I can, to the resolution that I followed, what happened through the subsequent year.
sir, the gentleman standing up taking photos of the audience, can you please identify yourself? I'm sorry? Itzel Kurtz? Itzhak Kurtz, thank you. Well, I'm just giving I just wanted to identify, so that the record reflected that somebody was taking pictures of the audience, stood up, turned around and took pictures of the audience, and we have the name in the record, so that's been done. Please proceed. And the record should reflect every seat in this place is filled, and the capacity's gotta be, I don't know, what, 150 people more? There are a lot of people there.
Let me show you what I'm now looking at.
And this is the only application left tonight.
Oh, three. For identification.
tell me why we're going through this quickly so that we can move on to, I'm sure you have more testimony you want to give tonight. What are we trying to accomplish with this
Well, I'm trying to
testimony?
accomplish is that it's my that has to this particular application. This board does not have jurisdiction to hear this application. There are several reasons. One of them being is that the original application itself was before the zoning board of adjustment. The area we're speaking of, which is the wetlands and the wetlands buffer, that was a part of the original application for the zoning board of adjustment that was taken into consideration in the board of plan. The file map reflects this as being an open area where we only have wetlands and wetlands buffers. And here, what we're doing is we're looking at something that's going to, number one, contravene the original approvals. And I would submit, despite the fact that this has gone to a foreclosure of some sort, all of those conditions and restrictions and improvements that were placed upon this property back in 1998 are still binding upon this applicant. And only the zoning board of adjustment has the jurisdiction to do that. And I've provided citations to my colleague, and clearly, one case going into the Supreme Court of New Jersey, saying that you got to go back to the zoning board, and perhaps you even have to go to court to get those restrictions removed, not simply come back to the planning board.
Now, these restrictions, you know, these are restrictions, or was this just, I do know that if they were allowed to build here back then, they probably would have had an application for regular buildings then. Do we know if this was set aside as open space? Was it restricted for open space? Or is this an application on open space that they purchased and it's a conforming application for a planning board?
It's a file map. And the file map shows this, and when you look at the resolutions, clearly, this open area for wetlands and the like was necessary for part of the approval back in 1998. That's what it was.
I would just ask Mr. Jeff, I just asked Mr.
I've given this a lot of investigation and thought today. Mr. Gazarovski over the last few days has given me the courtesy of alerting me to this issue, and I've discussed it at length with Mr. Pfeffer, who has given me his insight on it. I've read the cases, and it's a difficult situation to, I think, advise the board on, because the general principle is that if there's a subdivision and there's a facility related to that subdivision, it's normally put as a note on the map or on the plan as a restricted area. If there's an easement, if it's a conservation easement, if it's some kind of utility or facility that I would say is in the form of a restrictive covenant of some sort that protects the overall development, then yes. And the case law says that only really the court can remove that. The board can't even do it. The board of adjustment or the
As
planning.
if it's a deed restriction.
Well, but I would say that a detention basin, a roadway, an entryway, I think that is kind of analogous to that. So, but, you know, let's say the municipality vacates a roadway. So there's nothing that specifically addresses this on point. And unless it can be shown that there was an intent of some sort to make this a facility for the overall development, then I would say, my analysis is, and my recommendation is to the board is that then there would not be a restriction like that. If there is some kind of an indication that this was a facility that was to be shared by that neighborhood and used by that neighborhood, either drainage or whatever, then I think that's a lot more problematic. Now, this is uncharted territory. I can't find anything directly on point, although there are some very substantial analogous situations. The board's going to have to make that determination. But I can't find anything directly on point, and
Haven't we had cases in front of us prior that the zoning board approved? And we have had cases, you know, that come to the planning board, and then we send them back to the zoning board because it was initially approved by the zoning board.
that's another, it's a completely separate issue than the one about a facility, which is, I don't call it a facility, which is in the nature of an easement that's for the benefit of the whole community. It's like a dedication. Mr. Gazarovski gave me a case that is very, analogous to this. It's called Township of Middletown versus Simon. In that case, there was a tax foreclosure, and
the applicant tried to use a parcel that was dedicated as a park in the 30s. And then somebody bought it because the person who had that lot, the township never accepted the dedication. Someone paid the taxes for like 50, 60 years, wanted a tax sale, and Middletown then objected, said, no, that was dedicated, it's shown on the map as dedicated, we can accept that at any time. The Supreme Court of New Jersey said, Middletown's right, even you can accept it at any time, and once that's dedicated to public purpose, the town can always accept it. And
We didn't accept it.
well, if you give dedication of the roadway in a subdivision, the municipality doesn't have to accept it, you know?
So meaning that in that case, they took away the 1930 dedication to the park, and now it's.
Well, nobody took it away. It was shown on the map, nobody used it or exercised it or apparently was aware of it. At some point in the course on that case, it was attached to the property next door, and then the tax assessor separated it. Then whoever, since it was never dedicated, it was always taxed as an ordinary lot. The person who was paying the taxes stopped paying the tax, it was foreclosed upon, 3 people bid on it, they got it. And then the court said, even after all that, it was dedicated for a public purpose, the municipality is always free to accept that dedication, and they can't use it. I have a very similar case right now with Charming Way. So, yeah, it's very similar to Charming. Mr. Pfeffer, please, those facts are, I think the distinction here is, that's what I say, I think our case, this case would be a lot like that if there was a clear indication that this property was a detention basin or was open space, and there was a note on the plan, or in the resolution, or in the testimony that said this is dedicated to the public use. And detention basins ordinarily are, even though, and that's even a little different, because a detention basin that's dedicated for a neighborhood is a little different than a park or a street, that's for the whole community. So that's what I mean, there's nothing directly on point, you can argue both ways, and, you know, and in this case, I don't see anything that says this was specifically set aside for them and promised for them.
The other side is that paragraph 7, that was, it says that 50-foot buffer of wood shall shield the surrounding resident area from the impact of the project.
Is that related to this? Well, what, can we see where that would be on this? I just don't, I can visualize.
It's not in there were 2 lines, the first resolution. Paragraph 7.
I'm sorry, he's asking whether it was in the first resolution or the second resolution.
The first one.
Does it have A on top of it or doesn't have A on top of it?
Mr. Franklin, can I see that? I don't have a copy.
Hey, 2618.
Number 7 says, and I do have this, it just says, New York Traditional Planning Representative, current planning. The overall plan is talk about green areas are being maintained by the use of townhouses and encourage residential units.
Office and retail stores will translate into convenience for occupants as well as reduce traffic on the outside roadways. A 50-foot buffer of woods will shield the surrounding residential area from the impact of the project.
And the general development plan that was marked as for 1, I think, shows that perimeter buffer, and it shows the 50-foot buffer that's separating the existing residents not in the tract.
Okay, so
So
that,
that's shown on the map.
that does sound like it would be on the perimeter of this
Yeah.
development from adjoining neighbors. And this is
Yeah.
interior, our parcel tonight is interior, so we
Correct.
believe that this doesn't apply to that. Mr. Franklin, are you satisfied with that?
So that, and that's exactly the type of thing that I think would be akin to a deed restriction.
Let me just, if I may respond to this, Alex's comments. If you look at the general development plan, the general development plan clearly establishes the wetlands line as well as the required buffer. That's part of the map. If you look at this plan, you see that this area over here, on the southeast side of the building, they are going into that buffer area. They are violating the terms of that approval. When we look at the parking area, you can see that in the southwest side of the property, they are asking you for relief to encroach into that buffer.
Mr. Gazarovski, isn't the wetlands buffer though, the buffer to protect the stream or the water that's in the low point? I mean, when you look on the site plan, it meanders, it looks.
But obviously, back in 1996, 1998, this delineation was called for by the township engineer.
But I don't know if that's a facility for this neighborhood, and I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with you, but I think that's different than a 50-foot buffer on the perimeter that's specifically called out to protect the residents. That's just like an environmental thing.
Well, if you look at the plan that was approved back in 1998, this entire area over here, by the way, we don't have a new yellow lot. We don't know in the past 18 years.
That's a different issue.
What?
That's a different issue.
Yeah, we don't know over the past 18 years whether or not that LOI is expanded or not, because it is the fact of wetlands area.
Mr. Flannery, do you have any reason to believe that LOI would expand the wetlands buffer area at the standard?
I have no reason to believe that it would expand it. The municipal land use law allows us to come to this board, get the approval subject to the DEP approvals that we
Mr.
need.
Gazarovski, do you have any information that will
Well,
show
I
the
don't disagree with my colleague's comment, and I've been doing this for a long, long time. It's a rare occasion, if ever, that an applicant comes before a planning board, it doesn't have at the very least a draft or rough LOI.
There certainly the board has the authority and the discretion to say, we need more information, and the LOI might turn this whole thing on its head. They could also defer things to outside agency approval, and if they materially change the approval, then they'd have to come back. So that's a situation.
Even if you accept the existing LOI that was done 18 years ago, they're encroaching into the buffer.
Mr. Vogt, could you weigh in on this? I know I discussed this with you prior to the hearing. You told me that you could get exceptions and waivers from that, and that would be from the DEP. Can you please just address that? Can you clarify your question? Remember I asked you on this map, so that was like the stream, the way that meandered, I asked you about all those elevation marks were, that probably all wet.
What's shown on the site plan is a wetlands line and a wetlands buffer line. And the footprint of the building is shown encroaching within that. And I believe the applicants acknowledged that part of the approval process, if they get approval, they would have to go to JDP and get first order permit.
They get that.
Well, certain hospitals, but they have to make plans, they make it more time. Correct. If it's within 2.5 acres disturbance, it typically would fit under the general purpose.
Right now, to the comments of this buffer area for the wetlands, I think that's just a DEP issue. I don't know if that's a site plan, I think that's just like a recital of it's not a site plan, it's just a recitation of a factual thing. Whenever we get a plan, you have to show where the wetlands are. So I don't know that buffer was intended as a facility for this development. And I'm not saying it was or it wasn't.
Sharon, that's exactly why the zoning board of adjustment put the condition in there that if there's a change, you have to come back to us.
That's a good segue, because that was a completely separate issue you asked me about.
Good segue.
It's a good segue. What's the segue? About 8 pounds.
Really, I mean,
I'm sorry,
Yeah, but, again, this was an approval 20 years ago at a zoning board. It's an empty piece of land that this applicant purchased. Wasn't part of the initial application, it's very vague. It looks like it was, but it's vague. So they're coming for a conforming application to the planning board, which is done, which is normal, which, we hear applications like this. Why
you're
should this?
changing the original approval, you're changing the original site plan. You're changing something which the zoning board of adjustment heard in great detail. If you look at the transcripts and whatnot, or the minutes, this was heard, it wasn't a lickety-split thing. You're changing what took perhaps months to accomplish with really no backup. In addition to that,
You know, Mr. Ron, looking into the minutes, I'm sure you've read the minutes of that approval. Why were there no homes put on this piece of land now where the shul is going? Why? Up front, well, on Hillside Avenue, why did they not put homes there? Believe me, if they were able to put homes there, why didn't they?
They might not have been put there for a very good reason, because this open area here was really basically the backyard of these units over here, as well as these units over here. So anybody who bought these units or has a green area behind them, now you're talking in terms of taking over the green area and putting it in the cabin. I'd like to know how high this retaining wall is. I mean, there's no definition on this plan stating the height of the retaining wall or any testimony from. Yeah, so if the retaining wall is 6 feet high, nothing basically is really 5 or 6 feet of fill into this parking area to create this,
John, you're asking, if they were able to build here, then they would have. Why didn't they build here?
Well, that's, I think, a very good question, and I don't think the record that I've seen shows why, which means this is just an out parcel. And I would want to know who owned this property that paid the taxes until it went to a tax foreclosure?
the homeowners association.
The home, well, that's, to me, is a very revealing,
That it was part of
that
it.
it was part of it, that it was a facility for the homeowners association. You know, why would the developer just
Paying
feel
taxes.
generous and give it to the homeowners association? So that, I think, is a very important factor that the board could weigh, that how, when this all was designed, approved, laid out, it went to a homeowners association. I think that's significant.
What paragraph three down says it's not 29, 30, 31, 32, would have a 50-foot minimum wood. That was for the entire lot.
You know, all I can do is just give you my observations, my sense of what the rules are. The board is the judge, make the findings of fact in the law. You know, and I think it's a significant factor that, you know,
All of which cars out for this going back to the zoning board.
I don't know that it goes back to the zoning board though, and I'll tell you why. The zoning has changed, this is conforming 20 years ago. I don't even know if the Board of Adjustment has authority over that now, because it's no longer a non-conforming use. This is also a difficult question. And you might say send it back to the Board of Adjustment for an interpretation of what
Mr.
it is.
Jackson, respectfully, you can tell me that if in fact it's an open area, which was part of an earlier plan, which is designated for wetlands, and part of all the houses that surrounded it, the mere fact that years later, it was rezoned R18, that vitiates the earlier approval.
Well, I think though that doesn't mean that the Board of Adjustment still has jurisdiction over it if the zoning changes is not conforming. And you might ask the zoning board for an interpretation of this, whether they think they still have authority over it. It's not an easy question to answer.
They're saying in the resolutions, not just one, but in two of them. If I can introduce, I think it's now the 03. That would be resolution 20.
Mr. Pfeffer, what do you say about that?
28618.
Well, what's your argument for why the Board of Adjustment should not have authority over it? You want to hear that from Mr. Pfeffer? I think he could take the best case for that, and I think the board should regard to the exhibit. Say into the microphone, please.
With regards to the exhibit of Ron just entered, it's 03. It indicates in the ordinance, one, that the approval was good for a period of 15 years.
You said in the ordinance, you mean the
I'm
resolution?
sorry, I apologize. In the resolution, that was 03. There's no paragraph number. In any case, this approval was for 15 years. You're now 20 years later.
So you believe
So I
that the
believe
conditions
this-
in this by its term limits it?
We're no longer applying. Number two, it talks about that any change regard, if you change, substantially change, I mean, if we're going with plans that are conditions, I think it's hard to argue that this one building changes the intent of Westgate, which is over 1,000 units, residential units, has over 55,000 square feet of commercial space. This one building is not on its own going to substantially change the whole application. Additionally, at a later point, somewhere between the last 20 years, it went from a zone of SPD to now a R15 zone. It's parcel of almost 5 acres. We are a fully conforming application. And at that point, we are now before the planning board. We should not go to the zoning board, who doesn't have jurisdiction on that application anymore.
I saw in the original approval that it was a mixed use. There were other.
Yeah.
Is that mixed use fully conforming now? You know, was the whole project rendered conforming?
This new use is certainly not not in conformance with the earlier mentions.
Yeah, Mr. Gazarovski, can you please respond to Mr. Pfeffer's pointing out that provision, which I've never seen before, where the resolution expires? And obviously, everyone doesn't have to. take their own
Resolutions
action.
expire if they're not built out. It's like getting a general development permit. If they say that this approval is good for 15 years, that means you have 15 years within which
Can
to
you,
build it out.
can you read that again?
The fourth of those is on my project. It's on page 4, it's about halfway down the second one. So we just had. Indicates in accordance with those findings, the board hereby grants a 15-year approval period for the project with phasing comprised of 8 sections.
Yeah, that's building the project out. Block the project's all built
Building
out.
the project out, that doesn't mean that this is going.
That's just how we come again in 15 years.
That means that they don't have to come back every 2-3 years to.
Well, it gives them 15 years to build the project, and they have substantially built the project. And now we have a lot in that project that was not stipulated for any development. It was not restricted. And as indicated in these resolutions, and as Mr. Franklin pointed out, where they wanted a 50-foot buffer around the perimeter, it was clearly stated in the resolution, it's shown on the general development plan. If they wanted a buffer around these houses, or they wanted something specific with the wetlands for this particular lot that's not shown for development, the zoning board is very good at putting those conditions in the resolution. There's no such conditions. And the reason there was nothing shown to be developed here is because they had thousands of units, a lot of commercial. They did a plan, and they, for the most part, kept Hillside Boulevard without any residential units facing on it. And they left a lot on there showing no development. They never said that lot can't be used for anything else.
There's something on that same page 4, the second line of that page, it says the applicant has increased the traffic impact with the elimination of the future congregated pier site by inclusion of lot 86 into residential configuration. The applicant has enhanced the aesthetics of the project by increased recreational opportunities, including top lots and walking trails in addition to the main recreation area. The walking trail is to be located adjacent to the wetland buffer, bounded by Road B in the main road and Road J. Isn't that what we're talking about?
That's what we're talking about.
Isn't that what we're talking about?
That makes it like a park.
Right, like some type of walking recreation area. That's this area here, right?
And that's different than an actual dedication. That's different than an actual dedication shown on the map. But that's what I'm saying, it's got elements of, that go in different directions.
But I'm saying, in the resolution, it clearly states, and unless this is not this area, but wetland, adjacent to the wetland buffer area, bounded by Road B, the main road, and Road J. Is that this?
I believe it's across the street, and the park, all the way where the lines are the walking paths.
And on the general development, saying Road J is the street next to the recreation.
Adjacent to the wetlands?
What's Road B? What's Road B, bounded by
I
Road
thought
B,
you
the
said
main
Road
road?
B was the main road.
Which is Hillside.
Yeah, and this is called the main road.
Right.
Road B being the main road and Road J are across the street. Madden Village Drive down with Road J, and this was Road B. So it's this open space front that was dedicated for recreation on the other side of the street.
Where's the wetlands? This is the wetlands. I'm just saying, there's a lot of questions here, probably should go to, I just, I don't wanna mess around with a resolution from the Board of Adjustment.
That's that's what the board has to decide on. That's asking raising points, the applicant makes their points, and that's why,
What do you know as an attorney, what do you?
I'm troubled by the idea that this was owned by the homeowners association. I believe that creates an expectation by all the people in that development that this was a facility for everybody's use. Now, it's not exactly a municipal thing, but it's for a very large community. So for it to go through foreclosure because somebody did not pay the taxes, the association, and then for it to be bought, I think that does a little violence to the overall integrity of the original approval.
John, is that the This land was never owned by the association. This went out right from the developer to the owners now. So the patent was never part of.
Well, that's what the representation was before, that's important.
By Mr. Gazarovski, not by.
Who owned the property?
Who owned the property?
Who paid the taxes until the foreclosure?
I believe it was the developer. This is never, if you look back at the tax records, this was never owned, it's never by the association. I can only be very clear. The detention basin is a separate lot that's contiguous to the area, that is owned by the county.
Yeah, explain this line then. The walking trail is to be located adjacent to the wetlands buffer area, bounded by Road B, the main road, and Road J. So this area that would be this area here. That's not right.
Well, Road B is adjacent to the wetlands, and it says in the area
It says
bounded.
bounded, meaning it's behind Road B, adjacent to the wetlands buffer.
The road B is adjacent to the wetlands buffer. Here. I mean, this is where the park is, the whole.
So wetlands buffer on that property. And that's the property we're talking about. It's also such a great known as common sense. If you're talking here about a highly sensitive piece of property that was part of the original plan for governmental agency. It's a filed map showing the building, does not show the building size. It reflects the wetlands buffers and wetlands properties. Now, someone picks up a piece of property that's part of the discussion, but it doesn't have to do that. Comes back before you and says, now I want to basically intrude into these wetlands. I want to build a 14,000 square foot building with 45 parking spaces. Does that make any sense?
What about the question of who owned and who paid the taxes? Was that ever, I think that's a very revealing indication. Who owned the property? That should be hard to figure
How
out.
about this, Mr. Jackson? Let's assume for the sake of argument that the developer owned the lot. Either to the municipality, right?
She can't, the reporter can't hear.
Let's assume that the developer initially owned the entire parcel. Now, my understanding is, I guess he created a lot where the detention basin was on. That was dedicated to the homeowners. It's still owned by the township. But the other piece, which he retained ownership of, he never paid the taxes, despite the fact that in the original plan which he received, that was clearly his obligation. The town perhaps never called for him to transfer to.
That's a different issue. But he's representing that it was owned by the association. Do you know, Mr. Pfeffer?
It is always owned by the developer, and that point it was either from the developer to the town.
It was a result of foreclosure, was it not?
Taxes, there's not a foreclosure. It's a big difference.
Well, that's even better yet. If the original developer owned it, and transferred it to this applicant, then the applicant took it bound by all of the conditions as well as the obligation.
Are no recorded easements on this property as it is forming application.
It's not a conforming application, you're going into the buffers.
But going into the buffers, it is still a conforming application, it doesn't violate any Lakewood zoning ordinance. And also, with respect to the walking path, this is 20 years later, the recreation, the walking path, the other things are in, and they're all in on the lot across the street. You can see from the Google Maps, there's no walking path there, there's nobody that walks along it, and the township has,
What are those things I see on the map that look like a circle?
That's a park and a walk.
across the street.
Is that part of the original,
Yes, and as each section came in, because the general development plan established
You have no knowledge.
well, I have as much knowledge as you have that it's an open space that it's allowed to.
Okay, your objections are, please continue.
But the point I was making is that as each section came in and got final approvals, when the zoning board wanted something specific, they required it, and it was shown on the map. There's nothing specific shown here.
What does it say on the map with the circles and it looks like paths through? You know,
Can you put that, where put the letter? Right in. What's this map?
It says recreation area.
What's the recreation?
The map says recreation area.
So this is shown on the map?
Yeah.
It's right towards the wall.
Yes.
I think that's also interesting, that this is set aside or reserved, and this doesn't appear it. But unless what you're reading applies to this area over here.
I don't know, I didn't write the resolution.
So, it's hard to weigh this.
How can it be bounded by the wetland, but not included?
Well, it is adjacent to the wetlands, there's a wetland on either side of the road.
How can the full area, bounded by wetland?
That's the word to. Can you read that tonight?
Yeah, really.
I'm getting old, I need my glasses.
Wrong house.
The applicant has increased the traffic impact of the elimination of the future congregate care site by inclusion of lot 86 into the residential configuration. The applicant has enhanced the aesthetics of the project by increased recreational opportunities, including potlucks and a Vita walking trail in addition to the main recreation area. The Vita walking trail is to be located adjacent to the wetland buffer area, bounded by Road B, the main road, and Road J. The board finds and concludes that there is no substantial detriment to the zone plan outweighed by the benefits. The street design, lighting, landscaping, utilities, other improvements or shutters and recommendations. So, adjacent.
Now, that could very well mean that this is the area across the street. It's not crystal clear to me. But I think it's significant who owned the property. If the developer held it and they planned future use for it, they were selling it. Or was this intended as a facility for the rest of the development? If there are additional comments about the development. I think, there's arguments both ways.
So one of this is still on the other, is maintaining it was paying its taxes. As a result of that, some more taxes, that's it.
But I haven't heard a real confident, authoritative, certain statement as to who owns the property with them, the subject property, how to put the chain of title.
It came from the developer.
Sure, but also, what this board has to consider is that everybody before the unit in this facility, and the file map, the file map shows this is you should turn around and see all the people who are here in opposition to this proposal.
What do you think, Mr. Gazarovski, why do you think the developer apparently conveyed the portion with the walking trails on it to the association, but did not convey the lot across the street?
If you look at the map, you can see that this entire area over here on the plan itself.
Is that Mr. Flannery's?
Yes.
That's where it went.
Well, no, that's tonight's. He has a collection at home. He was asking about the laser pointer, and he thought maybe that was my old one that I lost. No, that's at home. He has that up on the shelf with the meeting date on it.
Serial killer.
He lost his objection when he got the laser pointer.
I think he's won a couple too. But I'm sorry, I didn't hear your answer. Why do you think the developer kept the lot with the woods on it and conveyed the lot across the street? And why would they hold on to it and pay taxes for so many years and not give it?
I don't know, you don't know, okay?
I'm asking him for a rational reason.
The rational reason is that oftentimes you have what's referred to as passive recreation. Passive recreation commonly surrounds detention basins and wetlands and things of
But if I'm the developer and that's a facility for this development, why would I pay it? Why would I carry it? Why would I have the liability, the insurance, everything else? Why would I turn it over to the
Because he
developer?
was supposed to turn it over to somebody, perhaps he did, perhaps he violated the terms of the improvement.
Okay, so you think there's a possibility maybe that was a fast one?
Curveball, perhaps. Those are the Sagittarius fastball, it was a curveball.
And this applicant wouldn't take the risk. This applicant knows where the property came from, came from the developer. They're coming in.
Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin, we can't hear you. Can you speak into the microphone, please?
We could get a search on the property by who it says on. We can't, basically, you only know.
Let the applicant provide that, as well as, I'd like to see the search on the property with the walking trail on it. Because I think what happened with each one, I think is significant, and how to evaluate this. Maybe this is great.
You're arguing back and forth. You have two attorneys, they both are right, but you're both in different directions. The engineer, he drove his stuff.
I'd also like to know who owns the detention basin. Who owns the detention basins, too?
Lakewood Township, I don't know if there's a property tax record, Lakewood Township owns the detention basin.
I think that's significant, too.
I was like,
That would show different intent to this one. I agree.
We'd like to think again, the applicant makes the application, there is a checks with tax record, to make sure the applicant is the owner has to sign off on the application, and this applicant owns it, it probably.
No one's arguing that the applicant owns it, the applicant owns it. We're just trying to figure out if this was part of the initial resolution or not. If this wasn't part of the initial resolution, then they can do whatever they want. There's no reason for them to go in front of a zoning board or anything. Right? That's what we're trying to figure out over here. We know now the applicant owns it. We know now the applicant bought it from some type of sale or whatever. I wanna know who owned it prior to the applicant? Did the owner own it, stop paying taxes, someone else bought it, sold it to them? What was the trail of this lot prior to the applicant owning it?
And Mr. Nyman, I think it would also be relevant to see how those other lots, the detention basin lot and the walking trail lot, how that was. Because that might reveal an intent. Why would you convey the one with the walking trails to the association, do the basins to the township, and then hold on to the third one for yourself?
Exactly.
I think all that's relevant. So what I would recommend is 9 o'clock. The applicant obviously the board has serious questions. I think the applicant should get these questions answered for a future date.
There are a few things that were raised on Mr. Council. I have no problem going back to doing we should find title searches as to how these three lots, the lot question, detention basin, and the trail, I don't want to do all that, and come back and have the board tell me, oh, you know what, I'm zoning, what you wrote, what you for.
Ask them for an interpretation,
What's interesting here, I read the review letter of the engineer, he states on page 3 of his comments, review of the filed maps indicate that 128, which is the subject lot, is owned and maintained by the homeowners association, and the adjoining 127 is owned and maintained by the township. What is that?
what's that on the meeting?
On page 3 of the review letter. Review comments.
I don't know which way, I think it's very revealing what the chain of title for this three lots. That's just me. And it was never set aside. I think that shows maybe it was an intent at the time when this was done, that it wasn't tied up with the rest of the property. So that could, it's 9 o'clock, we're obviously not going to finish. Right.
Bring it back. I don't know. Are we ready for that yet? Let's figure this out first.
You want me to be careful
first meeting. And I think even after, John, if we could, besides having all of this, this might help, find out if, based on this resolution, if it can come to our board, or it has to go back to the zoning board.
I think if it's subdivided out, my gut reaction is if it's subdivided out after 19 years, the zoning change, it's fully conforming, I don't see why it would have to go to the board of adjustment. Well, I'll have to Mr. Dasty and see what he thinks. And I don't have an absolute answer, that's just my sense, I don't know of anything like it. It's true, there are cases that say if the board, that it has to go back to the board, but this isn't like a subsequent development. This isn't where you got a use variance and everything, it's like, and the cases that say it has to go back to the board of adjustment, they use that analogy. It's like a bifurcated application. I don't think this is like that. And I don't think it makes sense to send things to a board of adjustment after, 18 years when the zoning changes and it's now a conforming use. I just don't think that's logical.
So what are we gonna clarify?
Well, I'll talk to Mr. Dasty, the zoning board attorney. I'll talk to Mr. Seater, the municipal attorney.
Well, what are we gonna clarify now, before now in March?
I'm gonna provide title searches for the 3 lots of question that were raised. One being the detention basin, one being our lot that we have the application on, and the third being the lot across the street, which is the park and the trails. I believe the gentleman, Mr. Jackson.
Now, let's say you find that it was owned by the developer, he stopped paying taxes on it, someone else bought it, and then sold it to the shul, let's say it's that scenario, no one. Then what?
I think that shows it again, because, if the question is, was somebody being short practices, or were they hiding something, or they did not do what they were supposed to do? I think 18 years ago, if the developer put the detention basins in the town name, and put the walking trails in the association name, and held on to that lot for themselves, I think that says something.
What does it say?
It says that there was probably an intent that they held it back, and why did no flags go up at the time? Why did they remember to do it on those two? Why was that insisted on? Why was that carried through?
Why didn't you sell it?
Why didn't he build houses on it?
That's the other side of the balance. But I think that's weight that you put on, and how you, what I think is not important for you think.
Okay.
Not you, I mean, the board, the Lakewood. And these are all valid things.
All right. Okay, so when we get here, March 1st?
Would I be okay, would be okay to have a copy of the resolution, except one,
The zoning board has one file, everything,
Maybe the board should be trying to discuss this issue now. I've been weighing in a lot, Mr. Ryan, you've been discussing it, Mr. Franklin said a couple of things, why don't we see what the board thinks of it? Let's have a discussion about this street issue, or you can wait.
Come back more.
I just want to know what the intent of this lot was 20 years ago. Maybe this wasn't even part of Westgate 20 years ago. Maybe someone else owned it, and this wasn't even part of Westgate. And of course they can build on it now. Maybe it was a separate lot, and nothing to do with Westgate. That's a possibility. Right? I mean, that definitely is a possibility here. I don't know if this was part of the original Clayton land. I don't know.
PDS is still in business, maybe they have it.
Mr. Chairman, I know it's this thing.
If you get Mr. Clayton here, he probably would.
Maybe.
You could talk to, the Clayton's still around. Bill Stevens is still around. Bring him in as a witness. He has a very good memory, I know him personally.
As you can see, there are numerous people here. This is the second time that the people have come here. I have been asked to trying to do a public comment for a little portion of it, just so you could hear some of the people that, you know, are here, they're waiting for 2 years.
All right, so I'll tell you what, you know what,
On
yes.
Ford Square, we have 2 ordinances that the committee has asked for your input before their meeting on Thursday.
So I'll tell you what I'll do, and I hear what you're saying, because this could actually help you down the road too. Because I don't know what the objectives are, I don't know what, I'll hear one person for it and one person who objected, so we can get a little feel for it. Give each one 2 minutes to speak, and then we have to go to these ordinances, okay? So if anyone wants to come up for it, you have 2 minutes, if anyone wants to come up against it, you have 2 minutes.
At this point, we'll have the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, I'm not closing it to the public after this, you will have, everyone has the right. Yes, okay, so, if you could just state your name and address.
My name is Benjamin Alfie. The address is 35 Lakewood Avenue.
Do you own or rent your apartment?
I own.
Okay, so then, be affirmed in, and then,
Please raise your right hand, do affirm the testimony you give before the board is true, the whole truth.
I do.
Please proceed.
okay, so,
I live, my backyard faces where this show is going to be held. I live down the street from it. I've gotten in the show since I moved into Westgate over 11 years ago. I have 5 boys. I don't have room for them without. I will probably be impacted by the traffic as much as anybody here. Right? As I said, I live on the street. My boys wait for the bus stop at that corner. I need this show because I need a place for my children to die. I don't know what the objections to this show are. They baffle me. I understand there's a traffic issue. But you know what? Westgate wasn't designed properly. I can't change the fact that I still need a place for my children to die. There are 3,000 seats necessary to live in Westgate. We don't even have
do
1,000.
you think it would help if the road hillside was widened in front of the show?
You know what? Honestly, it's not my business.
I'm just asking that question. Do you think this would promote the traffic in and out of the shul? You know how much traffic a shul
I know
brings.
exactly
Do
how
you
much traffic.
think by widening Hillside Avenue in front of this shul, by having 2 lanes each way, would that make it easier to maintain the traffic?
I think that by removing the cars from the street, we widen the street. I think that
Okay.
if I have to wait for the township to widen that road, my children will have their own children. My children need a place to live. The reality is that I can't wait for that. I need a place to live, and my children need a place to live, not in the
Do
future.
you think that it's important to have a simple ordinance because we rent it out in the morning for a person that has political rights?
There will be no such thing.
And you don't understand what's your relationship?
And then if you put it in the resolution, just like.
Let me clarify one point. There may be a brisk, simple, as per arbitration that was rendered, this board sent this for arbitration at the previous hearing, and we went to arbitration, and we were told that we can have a brisk in the morning and Shabbos, nothing past sunset.
No, forget the past sunset thing.
Okay?
Forget that, and forget
Let
the brisk too.
me add that, let me modify it. If there is no simple hall other than Shabbos, that's also fine. I need a place to die.
Fine, yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Anyone objecting, please come to the front. Can you just state your name and address?
Daniel, from 24 Hillside.
Do you own or rent your apartment?
I am. I am Frank, RAH. So my story is that I basically bought in Westgate when Westgate filled way back in the inception of Westgate, which was say 14 years ago, roughly. And the Helbers have been living across the street from us and servicing the community very well with their shul, and I benefit as well as my children benefit from that shul. And in fact, I actually signed the petition when it came around originally to get some sort of variance or zoning for there to be a shul in the basement, because I knew that that was something for the community. However, after living there for all these years, and I still see the good in what they're doing, and I I need a place for my kids to daven, I need a place for my kids to live. It is in that corner, all I ask is for any of you, respectfully, to come down any given morning and watch the school buses, watch the traffic jam, watch how my mirror of my van has been knocked off by just traffic because the road is not wide enough. And there were 2 accidents with children on Hillside Boulevard in recent years. I'm not willing to risk the safety of my children just so they can have a place to die. I think there are other options.
Do you think that a shul there, widening the road?
How about just no parking on
No parking on
that whole thing?
I'm not, my own personal sense here is, I'm not against a shul, I'm very for it, they need more room, let's do more room. Where I'm coming from is, let's do it in a way that works for the neighbors and that works for our children. Whether it means widening this road, whether it means making the building smaller, more parking spots, designated parking in front of the houses of the residents where I live right now, I can barely get parking in front of my house. And I understand that's part of having a
Can I answer the question? How long are you looking at?
I would say 14.
14 and a half
14
years.
years. Do you remember, just by memory, and I know that you might not be 100% sure, what this land was dedicated for? Did anyone tell you the history of this land that we're going to?
I don't know, but what I do know is there's a pond there, and I don't know if that wasn't brought up earlier. There's a pond there, and there is a small trail that goes around the pond. I know the kids do go there and they play in the summertime in the pond. It's a place that we use or utilize it as a pond. It's not very well kept. I wish it could be really nice if it was more well kept. But the other issue is that kind of, I think it became an unspoken blessing for all of us because the mikvah for the ladies is right over the corner there. And that whole area has been vacant. And that's kind of, if I understand correctly, I wasn't involved in the planning, but that's why the mikvah was built in that place, because we were under the assumption that that area was not going to be built on, so therefore it allows them to have the privacy that they deserve.
All right, thank you. All right, fine, so we'll put this on the March, what's you say? March 1st schedule.
Yeah, I'll waive it. That's all for the motion.
Yes, aye.
Public be advised that number 3 on the calendar, congregation all. Adjourned. We heard on March 1st,
'Cause
It's feeling good. All the rules.
Correspondence? Yes, otherwise I'm sure Mr. Flannery will. We have a correspondence, item application SC 6031, it's a request for requirement for delay. We have those projects in the past, perhaps well, we have on the record
Everyone can speak for a minute. I know what your name is, some of the board members want to.
This is the single-family development off the Drake Road. When it was done in 2008, we had a homeowners association to maintain the drainage and to maintain an open space lot. We want to do the same as was done on Serenity. I've met with Public Works, and they're in agreement that for the one-time fee, they will maintain the drainage. All the drainage is in the front yards and in the roads, so nobody has to go in any of the yards. And with respect to the open space, we would do the same as we did on Serenity, which is attach it to the adjoining lot, and they put a conservation easement on it so that there can be no development, and it would be the responsibility for maintenance of the adjoining owner, rather than a homeowners association, which would be.
Let's go, no?
What's
your name?
I'll recommend a motion on this. 83 Hillside. Motion to grant,
What's your name?
to eliminate the requirement. We have a motion and a
wanna say
second,
it?
roll call.
You don't want to say?
Yes. Yes.
You don't know what internet is?
Thank you.
Okay. With the ordinance, can we go out of order, do the second one first, the Oak Street Core Residential Development Approval Process?
Yes, so Oak Street, there were some rezones recently, regarding the R10A, there's, which permits duplexes on 10,000 square feet in this area. There's also a town-wide half permit that the town holds in this area. My understanding, and Mr. Flannery may be aware of some questions that we're familiar with it as well, or possibly Mrs. Morgan. My understanding is the intent of this is that for any, application to develop property that meets the R10A requirements, so no variance is required, and also follows the CAFRA approved design plans for the roads, for the utilities, all of that, could be approved as sort of as an admin subdivision, similar to the way that we do with our admin duplexes. They get approved for any duplex, or we just want to.
Is there a limit of how many duplexes can get approved by? My concern is, could someone pull 20 duplexes, and let's say there's a requirement for a shul or.
No, the most it would be is one block, and because the road network is there, so it would just be one block, would be the biggest
So
application.
how many homes can you fit on this one block?
The one block, they're 400 feet long, so that would be 4, 8, 16 units would be the most.
Yeah, but if it's 16, homes, fine, I'm just concerned that there'll be 16 blocks without, we have an issue with shul, with open space, with other things.
Well, the plan that was done for this, it was a plan that was submitted to CAFR that was done by the township. And the owners in this area got together in a joint venture, and there's open space parcels in the development that are part of it. There's stormwater facilities, there's tree save areas. So this whole plan is already done. All the roads are designed, all the storm sewer is designed, everything's designed. The road network that's there and the lots that are there are in accordance with the 1920 subdivision. So all the lines are there, it's the township engineer, and there's a developer's agreement that would need to be, and that ordinance stipulates that a developer's agreement would have to be entered into with this joint venture to make sure that everything is being built in accordance with the plan that was done for the town and approved by CAFR.
We've looked at the plans, if I can interrupt. We've looked at the
Well, there's no community facilities as part of it. And if you look at the CAFR map that was done, it shows the lots and blocks. Most of them are 100-foot wide lots. So the reason the township entered into this, instead of one guy coming in and building 2 duplexes, and he builds a little piece of road, and the next guy comes in, there's only 2 parcels in that whole area that are bigger than that 200 foot. So each guy could have come in piece by piece and developed it. It's next to the recreation area for the ball fields, so there's a huge recreation area. And as far as facilities for praying, anybody that's selling these units is gonna have to make those provisions, that there's a place to pray before anybody's gonna buy them. And again, the alternative was to come in at 1 duplex or 2 duplexes at a time and have nothing fit.
I hear, and I think this is a great idea, I just wanna make sure
Yes.
that houses of worship are going to be built here for the
And clearly, you
I know
can't
that
sell.
in other projects that were, there were already blocks, already streets, already that, they made the developer build a shul there because there were more than 40 units or 50 units. And that is actually an ordinance, that there has to be shuls, or community centers.
Over 25 units.
25 units. I just wanna make sure that that's gonna happen here, that's all.
But the only assurance you have that it's gonna happen is because nobody's gonna be able to
It's
sell.
not, it's just not. What? Yeah, of course you can talk. Thank you. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure, no problem. The only problem is, it's a wonderful idea. Right, Shmuel, Shmuel Lewis, and over the South End Road. There's no developer. There's no guy that has a whole bunch of stuff. There are a bunch of people. Each one of us can get up there. We can go ahead and ask to build one house. We'll come in front of you and say, I have 200 by 100. Can I make a minor subdivision? My question to you is, can I do that?
Yes, you can.
Do I have to build a shul?
No.
So why would we be discussing a shul if there are a bunch of small little owners who have these things?
So if there are a bunch of small little owners.
Well, we did address it, and I'm going to answer. We did address it.
Okay.
And the way it was addressed, the township went ahead and made a plan. The township said, this is the area that's going to be for homes. This is the area that's going to be for schools, all the way surrounding it. This is the area that's going to be for commercial. We designed it next to a massive park. So when it was designed, because there is no one developer, because it's many different owners, it was done in a way that naturally you will have shuls, naturally you will have parks. You can't ask anyone.
Yeah, I just wanted that on the record.
Okay.
That is a perfect answer.
Thank you.
But now, we addressed it.
Yes.
So that when someone comes 15 years down the road, how can you approve this without shuls? You can say there was testimony given by one of the homeowners there that, just what you said, that there are schools that are going to have shuls around it. So now that's on the record.
Okay.
Thank you, appreciate it. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion on this,
I have a problem with this because we're giving up, why do we say that anything that's conforming is, I'm not telling us that there's somewhere else in town. On Prospect Street, they want to develop any units conforming, why should they come in front of the board for a second?
I think because in this case, we're looking at a unique situation because the tower plans have been designed for, roadway, utilities, grading, all of that has been designed and approved and perfected. So really the only thing they've been coming to you for is the approval of the lot lines, because the road layout's already there, it's already designed, it's already approved, it's this, all they're coming to you
All the
for
drainage
is to
and
put lot
everything.
lines in.
Drainage was done,
Drainage.
drainage.
If it's conforming, why should they do that?
Just one thing first, along we understand, the right of ways were previously existing.
Yes. The right-of-ways were previously existing.
It's all designed, the cap
Sewer
design
and
is all
drainage,
designed
everything was designed.
Everything is designed.
Who's paying for the sewer and
The
drainage?
joint venture group of all these, a lot of people, 300 separate lots,
You've got 300 people sit down.
It's
and-
going, I want to go on the record as saying this may be the end of the existence of the engineering department in Lakewood, because I can foresee the nightmare that's coming with all the different lines and the way that we think in the engineering department, and some of us are more technical, and some of us are a little more free-spirited, and we've got to get on board with
Seriously.
care, and it's going to be a potential logistical nightmare, and I appreciate appreciate the work that has gone into getting it to where it has been now, but the only thing written in this ordinance is all the improvements must be installed, or there must be a developer's agreement.
And the developer's
Very
agreement,
vague.
the developer's agreement.
Talk about the drainage? So
Talk about the drainage. The drainage has been designed in accordance with state standards. There's storm pipe that picks up all the runoff. We have certain areas where there's porous pavement. It goes to detention basins.
Who's paying for this?
The joint venture, these 300 people that Nahama somehow miraculously got to all come together and put their money in.
And this was looked at by the
It
town.
was reviewed by the town. It's all that
All this? Okay.
the plan was done for the township of Lakewood. The township committee, in their wisdom, saw that if this was developed, 1 and 2 duplexes at a time, it would be a disaster. The roads would have bumps, none of the drainage would work. So they put it together, and other people are paying. All of the people, as they get building permits, they pay anybody who hasn't put their money
How
up
about
front.
impact fees that were about to,
Well, anything that applies, but there's not gonna be many impact fees here because the JV is building all the things. The traffic light that's on Broadway and Route 9 is being funded by the JV.
I would have heard the town if they didn't come from the plan.
It's just a lot more time and effort of plans Terry has already reviewed and given his seal of approval on.
okay, so that's fine.
That, I believe, is the legit, a lot more.
There's not a lot for it. We put as little as we had to. Basically, we put as little as we had to. In order to get the CAFR permit, you have to show a certain amount of non-structural measures. So you gotta do a little porous pavement here, you gotta do some grass swales here, and we did what we had to do to get a CAFR permit. In the lots now.
Well, actually, I think the capital permit calls for driveway.
Yes, each lot does their own driveways.
But there is also an infrastructure system that I think it has 2 recharge bases.
Yes.
And these are large bases.
Okay.
So Terry, you
It's a pretty
recommend this?
conservative design.
Terry, you recommend this?
But shouldn't that whole plan come before the plan?
An infrastructural standpoint.
We did submit this plan to the planning board back a couple of years ago. There was, when the smart growth plan was being done, there was a lot of discussion on this, and that's how long this plan has been going on. And it was submitted to the board, copies were submitted to the planning board.
I think the overall concept is logical and sound and based on good ideas. It's just gonna be a matter of getting the improvements to fall in line in the right place, which is really not the planning board's concern. I'm just saying, maybe my nightmares for a while.
And this ordinance requires a developer's agreement with the township, and we're working with the township to make sure the township is protected in that developer's agreement.
Sarah's happy with the design, I'm happy with the way this slide lays out, the fact that they won't need to come to you for every little lot line they wanna put in, I think it's.
Okay.
It's like, it's like the future of the planning.
We can certainly bring these in front of the board.
You get like an empty town.
Yes.
Look at your
They should
agenda.
have done this before.
What is the plan?
Yeah.
What is the plan? It's just 5 people build and 5 in the next 5
I
years.
think what it is to avoid is like Michael just said, this is to avoid getting what we have right now, which I like to wonderfully call the prospect nightmare, is we have this block and this block and this block and this block, and FWH did this one and this one and this one, the three different design engineers did it, and Lines did this one and this one and this one, and we have to get them all to match, and they all represent my block numbers, we represent my project number, we all want to shoot each other in the head.
We'll be looking at 150 uniform minor subdivision.
Excellent. I think this is
applications.
great. We should have done this for the prospect
We
triangle.
should, I think it makes a lot
Well,
of
how about Brian's ratios?
All right. So at this point, we'll entertain a motion to recommend this ordinance to the township committee. Move, second, roll call.
Mr. Herzl.
Yes.
Mr. Franklin. Mr. Hipperson. Mr. Nyman.
Yes.
Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Renner.
No.
Mr. Curzilla.
Yes.
Okay. Should we, well, I guess we have to use the next one as well.
So the next one may look very familiar. Oak Street was previously labeled as a transportation improvement district. This is Oak Street, I'm sorry. We
So just explain to me, let's say someone comes with, he wants to build 4 duplexes on the Oak Street corridor. How is he gonna be assessed? Who's gonna be paying for this? What's he gonna be going to? Who's gonna be overseeing it?
I have no idea.
Okay, so
I'm
when,
explaining this ordinance and I'm explaining the best to you.
so if we can have someone, like, you know, some ordinances, we have someone, we'll do it the first thing on the agenda. But I could just, I think it'll be beneficial for everyone if it could be clear. Otherwise, if it's not clear, it's gonna be before in court, and we want it to be as clear as possible. I don't mean to be a pain, but, you know,
Who came up with the number? How came up with the number?
They were done with like TM, when they did the whole study that labeled the particular areas they wanted to consider each district.
I think it's necessary, and not I think, I know it's necessary, we need to pass this ordinance. I just think that it would be beneficial if it could just be explained, someone was going to question. What?
Start somewhere.
So let's someone say what you
No, I think that the tax fees make sense.
And we have one smart people in this room and we're all scratching our heads going, what does this mean?
I'm looking at it, I asked for the backup data, there's no studies, there's no reports, you can't, the township can't have two tax fees, it's not specific, so then you scope of work that has to happen, and who impacts. You can't hold it, it's not.
Is there really no data behind it?
Let's get some, let's just recommend for the next meeting, whenever they want to do it, have someone come in.
This might be.
Anyone from the public wish to be heard? Close it to the public. Minutes of January 19, 2016, move, yes. Bills,
I just
yes.
want to make one comment. We talked about last board meeting, architectural drawings being submitted for your review prior to coming to the board. And I think I should stick to that. Unless anybody disagrees.
Thanks, PR,
Good.